Hello, everybody. Welcome to a podcast with more working hamstrings than Jonathan Taylor, the Sports Clichés podcast. I'm Craig. That's Jay. He's on that side, probably. How
No,
you doing?
no, you had it right the first time. I'm doing all right. We just were into a rant. We just started this, but we gotta start this and actually have this in the pod. So we are both Jonathan Taylor drafters in fantasy.
Yeah.
In the league that I am not in, Craig, with, I drafted Jonathan Taylor with my first round pick. He fell to me at 3. I thought I got a absolute steal. I couldn't believe it.
I took him
Jonathan Craig took him at 1, but that's not the wrong play either. He was by far, all the fucking prognosticators, any goddamn website you took a look, unanimous 1. He was a solid 1.1 average draft
I was going to
position.
say his average draft position when I took him was 1.
It's as close as you could have had to just a 1 without being, because it couldn't be that. Things like that happen with my draft where he's taken at 3. Regardless, he has now been by far the unanimous worst first pick, I think, in the draft, at least for the recent history. And unfortunately will be out this next coming week. And
it's not even the injuries. Even when he plays, he hasn't been good. Right? Even when he plays, he's averaging 6-7 points a game. I think the biggest scoring game I've had out of Jonathan Taylor was he got 14 in week 1.
Yes.
That was it.
Yeah.
Since then, it's been nothing. To be fair, that Colts offensive line is dog shit.
Yeah.
But, man, I want a refund. Yeah. I'm having buyer's remorse on that one. I said it when we were drafting too. I was telling Jay before the stream. There's a video proof of this. We streamed the draft, and I said, I really want to take Justin Jefferson #1. I really do, but I just feel like Jonathan Taylor at running back, there's just not as many good running backs. Yeah. And to be fair, my wide receiver position this year has been really good. I got Tyreek Hill, I got A.J. Brown, I got Nuke Hopkins, I've got Terry McLaurin and Brandon Ayuk on my bench. I'm stacked at receiver.
Literally just had 3 30-plus point receivers going against me last week, so.
I'm stacked at receiver, but, man, if I could just get running back going, I'd be unstoppable, but I brought back Josh Jacobs onto the team. He's back to being just not used, and I don't know. My running back room is cursed.
Yeah.
Sorry, Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yes. Ouch. Yeah, it's been I've been unfortunately stung by that in one of the leagues. In the other league, it was great because I was very worried about picking up Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry. I picked them very early.
And Henry, man.
And that worked out phenomenal for me.
Yes.
So, especially with how the Titans have just gone back to, hey, this guy's healthy again. You're gonna get the ball all the time for us. Thank you very much.
30 rushes for 240 yards every week. That's the goal. Yeah. That's the goal. We're never throwing the ball.
Talking about a couple AFC South teams right there. And let's go ahead and pivot into last night's game. Another AFC South team that is trying to run the rock is the Houston Texans, who are hosting last night against the still undefeated Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles being able to take that game 29-17. Interesting game. I mean, that score, 12 points. Not a crazy separation there. And it was actually a tied game going to the half. So some intrigue there into, potentially one of the worst teams in the league versus the best or one of the best teams in the league, and the Eagles there. But I would say, I'll ask you about what you thought about the game in a second. But I think the one takeaway you get from this is, this is whatever. Eagles win, not too surprising. Oddly enough, I don't think they cover the spread. There was a 14-point spread on this one. So kind of a brutal loss there for anybody taking the Eagles on that one. But it's a huge spread, though, so this is the danger you play. I think the takeaway is, honestly, on the other side of the ball, Dameon Pierce getting kind of the usage that was perhaps kind of alluded to in the preseason going into the season. This was a team that wanted to build themselves up in the trenches and be able to run the rock. They stayed dedicated to that throughout the game last night, which is, might you could make an argument they had to move the ball a little bit more down the field, not just get a field goal in the second half to have any chance in this game. But this is clearly a team that doesn't have the talent that Philadelphia is going to put out there. And if you're going to have a takeaway from this, at least you're building up your young guy that you want to anchor your backfield for the next so odd years.
Well, especially with Pierce, because like the interesting thing with Dameon Pierce, and I think it's the thing not a lot of people talked about coming into the season that made me a little bit concerned about him. He's rushed the ball 148 times this year. It's already the most he's ever run the ball in a season from college onward.
Right.
His most at Florida running the ball in a season was 106. So he's into uncharted waters as far as carrying the ball. He was never the like main. He wasn't the K9, right? Like that wasn't his job in college. He was always in a split back system. So now he's the guy. There was a little bit of concern from me anyways about what happens when he gets beyond that 100 rushes mark in the year. Does he start to feel it on the body? Turns out he's better. Turns out he just likes running the ball. He looked great in that game. This is a good Philadelphia defense too. This isn't a team that breaks to the run very easily. And boy, they found holes with Dameon Pierce all day. It's a good thing Davis Mills remembers that he's trying to contribute the Houston Texans to get their next quarterback. Or Houston might have been able to pull off a bit of an upset in this one. Yeah, man, General Mills. Some weeks he just looks good.
Right.
And then some weeks he throws 2 picks on 22 throws, and you go, oh yeah, that's why they're looking to get one of the quarterbacks in this class.
Yeah, I mean, I think for them, you came off of, oddly enough, a win against a Jacksonville team. I think at the time when Jacksonville was still thinking they could kind of bounce it back here, and now at this point you've taken 3 straight losses. You kind of had something. I guess it's funny in that this is they had a bad Vegas loss, so you can't take too much from that, and Vegas not a good team. Yeah, it's just it's one of those weird things. I don't love the whole moral victory thing, but right now, I mean, you're going to this game. You have 1 win on the season. You're going against the best team in the league, arguably, if not for certain. And it's interesting that you get to take a positive from this. I think it's I think if they continue down, I mean, like with their potential draft positioning that they're going to be setting themselves up for, I do find it interesting. Yeah, as you've said, this is a quarterback class that you probably do want to go after. So as much
Losing
as
is a win in this game for Houston.
as much as I love the idea of you talk about wanting to build in the trenches, this is a prime time to really get a premier pass rush, left tackle, even something like that. Yeah, you're probably correct in the idea that they have to be looking at their next quarterback. As much as Mills has been that hot and cold. Every now and then he's like, oh, this guy actually can do something. But right now,
Flashes.
that team, the way it's built, I mean, no one's gonna have any favors in there. They're gonna see what they can do this offseason. In addition to the draft, how they can build up this core. You need to get stronger on the offensive and defensive side. They're the worst team in the league against the rush. Themselves. So this whole idea that you want to build up through that, but you sure as hell haven't shown it on the defensive side. It's nice that they actually have something going on the offensive side in regards to that. So
honestly, it's just one of those things where when you look at Davis Mills, and I was thinking it last night, it's like, who the fuck does he really have to throw to? his leading catcher was Philip Dorsett, right? Like, that is a thing. Their wide receiver talent there is practically non-existent. Um, and that offensive line is not great either. That doesn't help Davis Mills any either. I do think of Davis Mills kind of similarly when we talked about Marcus Mariota last season. You put him in the right position with the right team, get him some weapons, get him a good offensive line. This guy can do a job for you. You're not going to lose like 10, 11 games if you have Davis Mills at quarterback with some weapons who he can use. It just feels like this situation's going to be bad for him. I would not be surprised if a team with a quarterback problem takes a flyer on him this offseason when he's going to be dirt cheap. You're going to be paying a 6th, 7th round pick for Davis Mills. I'd take a flyer on that. If you're a team with a quarterback that you're not 100% sold on and you can't get to one of those premier quarterbacks in the draft, absolutely. Why wouldn't you? Yeah. Right? Let's say, hypothetically, you are Atlanta. Maybe even Tampa Bay, right? Who's probably losing Tom Brady, is probably going to win enough games because of the AFC South to not be in the conversation for the really good quarterbacks in this draft. If you can get a guy like Davis Mills for dirt cheap, Tampa Bay's going to have some weapons for him to use. Why not? Why not give him a shot in camp? Maybe bring in a veteran guy there who he can compete with. See what you got. Right? I think he's the kind of guy who... I'm not ready to count out Davis Mills as an NFL quarterback, and even a good NFL quarterback. I just think this situation isn't right for him. Look at what happened to Ryan Tannehill. Right? He got out of a bad situation, gets to Tennessee, and yeah, is he the best quarterback? No, I have a lot of issues with Ryan Tannehill, but he wins some fucking games. Davis Mills is every bit as good as Ryan Tannehill.
I don't know. I hesitate on that. I think there's too many. There's been too many. There's too much havoc around him to, I would say, properly analyze him. Kind of like how you're talking about. Like, I think we have a better scope of what Ryan Tannehill is capable of, based on being on a team like the Tennessee Titans, especially when they had like an A.J. Brown and a Robbie Woods there and stuff like that. Like, all right, he has weapons, and this team can only go so far with him at the helm for those weapons, but he won't, he won't fuck the whole thing up either, right?
As long as you have Derrick Henry, he won't fuck the whole thing up, because the second he lost Derrick Henry, that thing went down quick.
Honestly, Davis Mills hasn't even been given that opportunity. Like,
no, that's what I mean.
It's a fucking car crash around that guy at all times. Like,
he's got
has he ever
nothing?
You think about the consistency of just doing anything in general, let alone quarterback for an NFL team. Just think about, like, if you don't have a secure place to do your job, like 50% of the time, it's gonna be real tough for anybody to do anything in that kind of condition. So it's I suppose a bit of a testament that he had shown flashes of being good, but yeah, it's a little tough, and it's kind of I think this is a thing for a lot of quarterbacks in similar positions when they're on bad teams like this, is what happens in that second team. Do they show flashes of success? Is it and sometimes they go to a good team, and then because the team is so good around them, they maybe look better and that sort of thing. I'm trying to think, like, I think there was people that were there was like a second wind of love for Josh Rosen, I think, because he had like a little pocket of games where he was actually doing good. And I think that was like at the end of his Dolphins tenure. So then, like, I think the Niners bought into it. I think another team even bought into it, that sort of thing. And then he fucking sucked. And it was like, okay, yeah, never mind.
Mitch Trubinsky.
Yeah, I mean, he never really got much of a shot in Buffalo, though. He was just there. That's the funny
and
thing with
and just
Trubisky.
by being there, everybody's like, he must be a great quarterback.
He just
Look at how
fucking
good Buffalo
he
is.
just got it through osmosis. He didn't actually fucking do anything. He was just kind of in the vicinity of greatness or
Well,
success. Yeah, that's kind of the funny thing about Mitch. There, he just like, yeah, no.
yeah,
Remember Mitch Trubisky? I can't remember that kid. Like,
I
yeah,
think he
it's
played
not
like
about
a
it.
half in Buffalo and was okay. He
Yeah,
wasn't even that great. He
right.
was like okay, and everybody's like, "Fuck, I
Mitch
knew it.
fucking
It was
Trubisky.
all the
It's all
Bears."
Gase, dude. Fucking Gase, man. Uh, yeah,
Yeah, there's not much else to take out of that game, I don't
yeah.
think, right? Like, I don't think there's anything too wild about it. Jalen Hurts looked really good.
Oh no,
That's not a
Nagy. Sorry, it
surprise.
wasn't Gase. It was
It was
Nagy with him.
Nagy. Yeah,
Yeah,
Nagy.
4 letter last name. Uh, uh, rough tenure head coach, basically, is what I was thinking of. Gase, Nagy, they have a G in there, too. I was close.
Adding to my fantasy pain from this week, by the way, on Tuesday I had an offer that I was gonna throw out there
Hmm.
with one of our other GMs in the league that was gonna be Brandon Ayuk for Miles Sanders because I desperately needed a running back. And then I saw Miles Sanders' game and I was in pain.
Yeah.
He was really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ugh,
Yeah.
ugh.
All right. Well, that was last night's game, so that's stepping or dipping our toes into week 9 there. Let's do a little run through, I suppose, on the games of week 8, just to go over it on our picks for this week 8. I ended up going 6-8. I think one of two maybe losing weeks that I've had this season, but especially a rough stretch of my last 3 games, all being losers, there sent me into the sub 500 realm on that. Craig doing a bit better, was able to keep it steady and at least get 500. Went 7-7 on the week. So overall, going through last week, I end up with a 55, 45, and 2 overall. Craig has a 51, 49, and 2 overall. So both over 500 by a bit here. And we'll go into some of these games. I guess start off from the top here. Denver Broncos going into Jacksonville and managing to squeeze one by on
No,
the
going into
Jags.
London.
Sorry, yeah. I mean, yeah, they're the home team. They're not, yeah, exactly.
Jacksonville, England.
Yeah, Jacksonville, England. It is kind of like they have tried to like shoehorn the Jags in as the English team. They keep, having a London game over there. I don't know how well that's going to work, but it is a potential team to represent, I suppose, the London fan base, or at least they try to. But yeah, this one, I kind of had my eye on it. I was able to wake up early enough to catch kind of the second half on this one. Still nothing crazy impressive as far as the offense that the Broncos are showing. Only were able to put up to 21 points, but yeah, Lawrence not looking so great. ETN looking pretty goddamn fantastic in the backfield for him, so they got that going for him. Kind of another similar situation to the Texans. You got a running back that I think could do some things for you, but otherwise a team that's kind of showing their true colors after a promising start early this season for the Jags. They've come quite down to earth at that 2-6 record.
Here's a fun fact for you that I saw today and was like, "Yep, that sounds about right." Uh, the player with the most drops by a receiver in the NFL this year is 5. There's 4 different players who have it. One of them is Breece Hall, who's a running back. Doesn't really count. The next group of players is 4. The Jacksonville Jaguars have 2 receivers in there, including Mr. $72 million himself, Christian Kirk. The other one being Marvin Jones Jr. Give poor Trevor Lawrence some help, please. It's sad. Like, I don't even know what to. You're just beating your head against the wall at this point, right? Like, it's just. The Jaguars need to figure out what the fuck they are doing at like every position outside of running back. Because they got that figured out. They like Travis Etienne. They're going to give the ball to Travis Etienne. They got rid of James Robinson. They like him so much. Their defense is, I mean, let's face it. Russell Wilson looked downright like Russell Wilson of 2010 at times in that game against this defense. Their offense is atrocious. Poor Trevor Lawrence is running for his life on every fucking play. They can't complete a pass over 5 yards. It's getting desperate. Trade Trevor Lawrence. You can still get good value for Trevor Lawrence. It's time. We're season 2 of Trevor Lawrence being a Jaguar. It's time to just cut bait. It's sad, but like, that's the reality.
Yeah, I don't know. It's unfortunate because yeah, it will look like all right. They spent a bunch of money. They're able to, it looked like, get something at least serviceable around, Lawrence and this team, looked decent early on. I think their defense is still pretty damn good. It really does hurt that they lost Shaquille Griffin to the IR.
That is true.
That's really kind of hurt this team. But, still, I think, a pretty damn good defense. This will be a very interesting game. They have an interesting one coming up. They got the Las Vegas Raiders coming up. There's two-win teams.
Let's save talking about that
we
one.
we will talk about it more. But basically, my thought being, like, the likelihood that they are going to get. It's like, what are you getting for Trevor Lawrence at this point? How much value?
I still think you could probably pry a first-round pick out of a team. Might not necessarily be a high first-round pick. I don't think anybody's giving up like a top 10 pick for Trevor Lawrence at this point. But again, we talk about teams like maybe the Falcons or the Buccaneers or a team like that who's going to be on the fringes of the playoffs simply because of the division they play in. Pick in the mid-teens, early 20s. You can probably get that out of a team like that for Trevor Lawrence. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't really see that much, but that's just because like those rookie contracts are gold to these teams for the most part.
That's just it, right?
You're getting hopefully some talent, hopefully a guy that's going to be starting for you for incredibly cheap for multiple years, and you would be buying into someone who is going to have 2 years of that cut off for you, basically, with Trevor Lawrence, right?
Yeah, that was my thought, right? If you still buy the potential that he had, which I do, I put a lot of this on the pieces around him, right? If you're one of those people who still buys into the potential, why wouldn't you give up like a mid to late first round pick to get that guy on a rookie contract for 2 years? If it doesn't work, hypothetically, mid to late first round picks, they bust a lot. And if Jacksonville's picking them, it's going to be another bust.
But, I mean, who's going to have a mid to late first round pick? That's going to be better teams in the league who hopefully have their quarterback situation sorted out to where they're not going to be really worried about.
I think I just named 2.
I mean, could, but I don't know. I
maybe Chicago.
I mean, that's an
New
early
England?
pick, isn't it? I mean, if you're still hoping on Mac on that one, I mean, they're the same. That's the same contract, isn't it? 2 years, 3 years.
But that's.
I just don't know if that's worth it. Like, to
Seattle?
are you just swapping Or just, swapping the same guy for the same guy, more or less? Or, is it moving the meter
I don't
that
think
much for you?
Mac Jones at his absolute peak of peaks even comes close to the talent that Trevor Lawrence could have.
It's tough to say, man. I mean, I understand there's an obvious reason, this kid was
Yeah,
highly recruited from before college, right?
he would
And
have been the
all the
number one
things.
overall pick in his freshman year.
Couple shitty years at the NFL level for a guy that's already like he's just having to go through this crap. Like, I don't want to say like ruin somebody, but for him, like he's expressed the ability to where he's like, football's not my end all be all. I think he has greater ambitions than that. He's not just going to be a football player. I think as far as his career is concerned, it sounds like from what he's said in interviews
Yeah,
beforehand. How much that ends up being true is another thing. And I'm not necessarily like totally down on the guy. I think if you're Jacksonville, you're letting this ride for another year. You're trying to I think you try to do something that you can't. What you can do. I mean, right now you've put yourself in such a crazy salary cap hell, anyways. That is with your, how much money you've thrown at a Zay Jones and a Christian Kirk and you know D linemen that haven't been as effective and that sort of thing. It's just there's a lot of money uh, that has been occupied for multiple years to come with these contracts. So I just wonder how much they are in the mood to wheel and deal like that too. Like how much can they really afford to extend themselves or change up
yeah,
what they got? They might be stuck. I don't know. I'd have to really take a look at those contracts because like that's the thing. Some of these contracts, it's not even that first year hit. It's like year 2, 3 is when it starts getting real deep on those contracts, and you're fucked. Like if you even try to get out of those contracts, you're having to eat a huge bit of it, or if you're releasing them, yeah, cap penalty all day. Like,
yeah.
so I don't
No,
know.
it feels like to me a situation where both parties need to move on for the best of each individual party. And I just think the longer it stays like this, the worse it gets. Because Jaguars are on pace right now to be in and around those top 2, 3 picks. Are they in a position to pass up on CJ Stroud? Or um oh my god, I feel so bad for blanking on this right now. Oh, the Alabama Bryce Young. Or Bryce Young, if
Right.
they're there, I don't think they are.
I just think at this point, like I like a lot of pieces. Like their defense has clearly shown that they're fairly capable. They have an
Yeah,
unfortunate injury. As far as their overall stats, like some impressive ones, it's a secondary that gets some decent picks. They do decent against the run, and they don't give up many points. At least they haven't throughout the season here. So, you got to rectify some things on the offensive side, the offensive line. You probably need some better weapons. You got a great running back,
you do have a great
young
running back.
guy. Like I don't know. And you're in the AFC South, baby. Anything's possible, right? Like you can make a run. You could make a run still this year, technically. I mean, look at what you have to compete against. I believe, obviously, the Tennessee Titans are hands down
I was gonna say.
the best. But like, you have a weird run of being able to make second place in your division for whatever reason. If you really had the desire to, I don't know if they're necessarily in full tank mode at this point.
I don't think they are, but I think they're gonna end up in full tank mode just because I think they're that bad offensively. Where I think like I don't think they're trying to go for it.
Right.
I think they're falling backwards into it.
They've had some rough losses. I mean, you take a look, their last, 5 losses in a row: Philly by 8, Houston by 7, Indy by 7, Giants by 6, Denver by 4. Single possession
Okay,
games down the line. I know,
you mean
obviously,
two
final
good
scores.
teams.
Yeah, I know final scores aren't, and final scores don't tell the whole fucking story. But it's just like they have weirdly been a bad team that's lost a lot of games in a row against. I mean, yeah, Philly, yeah,
Yeah,
two teams.
two good teams.
Hey,
And that's if you count the Giants as a good team.
29-21 and 23-17, and you have to count the Giants as a good team. You gotta there's gotta be like there's a 500 like limit to it, so there's gotta be like a handful or of teams above that. You have to at this point, I think.
I don't know. I still have trouble counting the Giants and Jets as good teams. As much as I know they are good teams, I still have trouble with it.
I got that New York state of mind, my friend. I've already bought in. Let's keep it going. We talked enough about the Broncos and Jags there. Although it is a fascinating scenario. Like, Denver's the shit show, and they've gotten the headlines because the whole, Russ and all that bullshit, dancing on planes or whatever the fuck he's doing. But yeah, the Jags.
He was doing high knees. He was doing high knees. He's working out.
Yeah. Dancing, essentially. Jazzercise. He's jazzercising on the plane. That's basically what you're telling me.
Broncos country.
Yeah.
That's right.
Let's move it over. This one I did caught the end of this game. Very exciting. Craig, your Atlanta Falcons holding court somehow, pulling it off, taking the OT win 37-34 on the legs of coup, I believe, right? To end that one. Oddly enough, don't cover the spread on that one. It was a -4, so that was a little brutal. But story obviously for this one, I believe DJ Moore, right, is the one who catches an absolute bomb from PJ Walker, only to in celebration after the touchdown take off his helmet. That's deemed a
15-yard penalty.
15-yard penalty. Kicker that now has to kick it from about 50 yards out as opposed to 34. He just pushes it. If it was from the 15 yards in, that easily makes it through.
Easily.
Yeah, that one's going to always hurt. And that would have put them up 1. But they don't get that. It's a tie game. Goes to OT. Goes back and forth for a little bit. Misses another field goal on a short field. Does the
Eddie
Carolina,
Pinheiro.
Pinheiro, and then drive by Atlanta on the shorter field after that, and is able to punch it in 41-yard field goal. A couple minutes left in OT there. What were your takeaways from this one?
Mariota, I thought looked really good. I know the 2 interceptions are going to stick out a little bit, but that was the first game this season where they really asked him to throw the ball more than usual, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna he's still not he's still not 100% in sync with a lot of these receivers, but 20 of 28 for 253, 3 touchdowns. The 2 picks stand out a little bit, but honestly, it was a pretty good day for Mariota.
They remembered they drafted this guy called Kyle Pitts, and they started actually
they
throwing
remembered
him the rock.
about Kyle Pitts. It's crazy. It's almost like when you throw the ball to Kyle Pitts, he catches it and does good things with it because he's really good.
Yeah.
Caleb Huntley, Tyler Allgeier are doing a solid job of filling the void of Cordero Patterson. Each one has to do it individually, obviously. Caleb Huntley, the running back, and Tyler Allgeier, though he ran the ball 14 times, was really more successful in the flats as a receiving running back. By their powers combined, they created one Cordero Patterson. So, I like a lot of what I saw. Our defense has been good all season. So, they broke a little bit in this one, but you expect them to bounce back from that, right? It's not like the Falcons' defense has been giving up points galore, right? It's a couple weeks now that it's happened, and that might be a little bit concerning. But they're missing AJ Terrell, and that is going to hurt any team like the Falcons, who talent-wise might be one of the worst in the NFL. Right, so you lose a premier cornerback like that, it's going to cause issues. But yeah, I like the fight in this team. Like I said, if you look at the NFL teams player for player, there's only the Falcons make it outside of the bottom 10. They're definitely within that. They might be within the bottom 5. There's not a ton of talent on this team, especially when you remove Cordero Patterson, AJ Terrell. They fight hard. Honestly, I can't be too upset as a Falcons fan right now. They're a fun team to watch. They don't lose easily.
I mean, this one was interesting. Watching it uh, kind of catching the game when I did. It was later into the game, and then just seeing the DJ Moore touchdown, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I suppose what was surprising is that, like, PJ Walker is obviously like, okay, you should have gone with this guy from the fucking get. It seems.
He's
Not
definitely the best of the quarterbacks that we've seen from them so far. And no, Sam Darnold is not going to be any better.
Yeah, I mean, I love it coming out of the XFL and all that. But
yeah,
the funny thing for me was this Carolina team has found a way to just, even though I feel like PJ Walker has been actually playing pretty decent, it's still only a 2-win team at this point. They haven't been able to convert success or better, operation at that position into actual wins. In this overtime, Mariota threw that pick, and it was returned for like 50 yards or something like that, right? This game was in their hands, but then you had a kicker that obviously was still like affected from the miss that was had prior, even though a lot of people will hound him for that one, but it's like, you put him in a much tougher situation to win that game for you with the extra point, having to kick that 49-50 yarder. It's some interesting resilience on the other side that you got from the Falcons, and that's exactly what you need at this point. I mean, they've just found a way to win some games that I would say, statistically, you take a look at it, you have a late interception like that against you. You're not expecting to win that game at the end of it. It's like, shit, all right, they missed the extra point because of the penalty. All right, we still have a chance. Damn it, we give up the pick. Okay, now the dream's over, sort of thing. Still get another chance. All right, and then they're able to execute, and all you have to do for the most part is just get that thing within
Young
50 yards
man.
for Koo, exactly, and you're pretty much golden in that situation. So that's going to take Atlanta far in this conference at this point. No reason to not think that they could sneak in for a wild card spot. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm not even thinking wild card. I look at this division and go, who's
Sure.
than them in
Right.
it? Right.
It's
not New Orleans. It's not Carolina. They're gonna have to get over the Tampa Bay boogeyman. But like, it might not even matter if you lose another game to Tampa Bay the way Tampa Bay's playing. They're not gonna get out of their own fucking ways. So I mean,
they got it. It's the most intriguing game they got this next coming week. It'll be a fire one. We'll go over that one soon enough. But yeah, absolutely. You're totally right. I wasn't even thinking correctly. Like, as far as, I mean, their record right now and the way they've looked and played, absolutely. Division winner. What am I talking about? Not even wild card.
division winner Atlanta Falcons this year
might be the fourth seed. Might be the fourth seed division winner, but you know what? That's still gonna get you a home game, right? So there
it's gonna get you a home game. In the NFC, there's no guarantee that's gonna be that could be the Giants. And that's not necessarily not a winnable game.
There you go. Could be a fire playoff game. Let's keep it.
Falcons in Atlanta in the playoffs. Oh God, what a cursed season this has fucking been.
Yeah. Telling me. Let's keep it going. We'll go into another team. You know what? I mean, they're not going to make the playoffs, but they've weird flashes for a team that looked completely inept at offense at one point. You're seeing a little bit of life from the Chicago Bears, but they went into Dallas last weekend. Unfortunately, didn't ever really come close in this one.
No.
Outside of, they were within 9 by the end of the half there, and then brought it within 5 actually in the third quarter, and then it just kind of pulled away from them. Dallas, I think, from watching this game for the most part, they looked pretty in control through and through, scoring 14 points a quarter. until the fourth, and then they only scored a touchdown that one. So consistently putting up the points was Dallas there, scoring touchdowns. Dak, efficient enough. Tony Pollard, look at that. He didn't even need that many touches. 14
you
touches.
give him the ball and he scores.
That's like that is almost like half and half carries right there that Tony Pollard is still getting in this situation. Still puts up 131. We were talking about him potentially running the ball like 20 times. Yeah. Think about that. Like that could have even been a crazier stat line. 3 tutties for the kid too. Jesus.
I will say with that, there's an interesting psychological standpoint to this. Where with Zeke, a lot of teams have been stopping him 2 yards, 3 yards. It gives him a little bit of momentum, gives him something to feel confident about, right? Forces the offense into... Tony Pollard's touching the ball, he's gaining like 9, 10 yards a run, he's just bursting 40-yarders on you. You feel defeated already, right? So he doesn't need to run the ball 30 times to get the production. You can give him the same amount as long as you're not giving the defense the 1 yard gain, 2 yard gain, and getting the defense feeling that a little bit, right? Every time he's touching the ball, it felt like he was going for 12, and the Bears defense looked absolutely defeated morally, right? Like, he's just so much better than Ezekiel Elliott right now. Like, at this point, I understand that Ezekiel Elliott, like, rookie Ezekiel Elliott, was just a different kind of animal. He's not rookie Ezekiel Elliott anymore. He's banged up, a little bit older. He's a decent power back, right? Like, if you need 2 yards, he'll get you those 2 yards guaranteed. He falls forward really well.
Right.
But if you need 8 yards, he's getting you 2. Right? Whereas with Tony Pollard, man, holy shit.
You know, and yeah, I think definitely, you know, this is kind of what you're looking for with Pollard. Not even, that crazy amount of carries. He actually, Malik Davis ends up getting a decent amount of those as well. And yeah, like, they had a great measured attack. I will say on the other side, like, I think if the Bears are playing a lot of other teams in this league, they play this same game against those teams, I think they're walking out with wins in this game. I'm liking what they're doing. You know, you don't need to make it crazy. You've obviously shown you're not going to do that with Justin Fields as far as passing the ball. Keep it measured. 17 to 23, 151, 2 tutties. That's just fine when you're trying to run the rock like they are. Khalil Herbert, I love it. Like, I really like him. Almost 100 yards there. You're splitting that shared workload with Montgomery, and then also obviously mixing in Fields when you can on his own runs. You obviously need to help him out with some goddamn receivers so you can open that up a little bit more, so he can throw the ball when he needs to.
Mapletron coming in.
So you need that. You definitely need that element for the Bears. But I would say, like, I think a good amount of teams. I would say more than half the teams in the league, you probably are looking at the Bears walking away with a win. They play this game against them.
Yeah.
The Cowboys are just that damn good, though. Their defense, you let up 29 points here against the Bears. A little bit of garbage time in there. But, you know, this is a defense that's going to do that. And obviously the offensive explosion speaks for itself. You do start handing that rock to Tony Pollard and good things happen all of a sudden. And yeah, Dak, this is a nice little, like, he's now kind of back for a couple games here. It's definitely been a slower start. The guy's only really played 3 games, right, this season. Yeah. So, you might see a little bit more of this style from him. And I love a good team that's measured. There's probably going to be games where he's passing a lot more than the rushing. I hope there's games where they're still run the rock a good amount like this. And it's good to be able to do both. So good things for the Cowboys, obviously.
Yeah, I still don't trust Mike McCarthy to not shoot himself in the dick a bunch, but, like, the talent's there. It always has been. Right? The talent with this team was never the question. The question was always, can they get out of their own way? We'll see when they play tougher teams if they've gotten over that problem. But they look pretty good.
Let's keep moving on to the next one. A very surprising score by the end of it, but at least we got to see a little bit of life out of this Lions team. The Miami Dolphins going into Detroit to face the Lions end up coming out with the win, sneak out with it of 31-27, scoring 14 points in the second half to jump back and take the lead there. But we're down by 10 going into the half. This one, Tua going off, a lot of yards, a few touchdowns there. It was Tyreek Hill. It was Jalen Waddle. We actually had head-to-head in fantasy with those two. I ended up getting the touchdowns with Waddle. He gets all the yards with Tyreek, so worked out. And then, crazy enough, this was the comeback game for DeAndre Swift, who they were able to work in a little bit. And did we know, the last game for T.J. Hawkinson as a Lion.
What a stupid trade. Okay.
Yes, we get into this.
Thank you for bringing this up. I need to take the glasses off to do this one because I need to.
He needs to rub his eyes that hard.
Just use them. Don't trade. Throw him the ball. He's good. What? Do? And then to trade him to the Vikings.
Yeah.
He's in your. He's signed through next year. You'll have to play him again next season.
Yeah. What? You gotta play him twice next season, actually.
Just ball. He's. If you were to make a list of just top 10 athletic freak tight ends in this league, TJ Hawkinson's in there by a mile. He's got great hands, freaky fast for his size, massive body. Just get him the ball. Don't trade him, use him. Good Lord.
Yeah.
I don't get. If you're looking to keep going forward, this team is going to be bad enough where you have a shot at the quarterbacks. We've mentioned the three already. It's Levis, it's Young, it's Stroud. Whichever one you want, you're going to have a shot at one of them. Jared Goff is washed. We all know that. Listen, good game here. That's great. He's been awful this season. You have DeAndre Swift. You're bringing in a good young quarterback, probably. You still have guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown and Khalif Raymond. There's actually... Your offense is nearly there. And then you trade T.J. Hawkinson for nothing! I was shocked. I've never seen a trade that I've agreed with less in my life, except for the Bears trading a second for Chase Claypool. But even then, I can at least understand the logic of, okay, let's bring in a guy who has shown flashes of potential, but for the most part has looked bad, but maybe we can unlock something with them. There's no logic to trading TJ Hawkinson. None. I don't even care about the fact that they traded him in division. Don't trade him at all!
Yeah.
Just throw him the ball more! God!
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, you're talking about also, I mean, you're getting a second and a third. You're still giving up a fourth and a conditional fourth along with Hawkinson in this.
Yes.
So you're still giving up draft capital in this trade somehow. A tight end that, yeah, I think people saw, the numbers weren't fantastic, but there was a reason for that. I mean, as far as how this offense operated. Good luck to whoever you had there. And
great pickup for the Vikings, by the way.
I mean, they
lost Irv Smith. They
right.
needed somebody to step in. They upgraded to Irv Smith with TJ Hawkinson. I love Irv Smith Jr. I'd take Hawkinson over him.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who did. And the Vikings, who they just have as a tight end before that, they had someone decent. And I feel, yeah, exactly, same thing. Like Hawkinson's an upgrade there. God, I cannot remember who they had tight end. I think this one, as far as the trade deadline moves, and we could jump into them as they kind of pop up. I suppose, yeah, I mean, we already passed by the Falcons game. They had the Calvin Ridley one. We talked about the Bears.
I
Roquan
love that
Smith.
trade. I love that trade.
Just a cut and run on that one. Okay.
Big
Yeah.
fan of us trading away Calvin Ridley. It wasn't gonna work. It wasn't gonna work. Uh, um, the relationship was fractured too much even before the gambling thing. By the way, can we talk about how ironic it is that one of the games he was suspended for was betting on the Falcons to beat the Jaguars, and now
Yeah.
he's a member of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah.
It's particularly funny. Um, the relationship was broken. They got well, it ended up being a second round pick, right? Like they didn't get nothing for him. Like
Yeah.
it's I love that trade. I'm shocked they were able to get anything. Like everybody in the league knows that that thing's broken, and it'll be almost 2 years since the last time Calvin really touched the field. By the time he touches the field next season,
Yeah. Yeah. I suppose you're banking on that you can get, you know, a large percentage of what that player was, but who knows exactly? You won't really know that until they step on the field. It's very Deshaun Watson-esque, I feel, in
yeah,
some regards to that, right?
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there's a couple teams we just passed by. Obviously, when we were talking about before, we stay on your Falcons. Also, the Deion Jones trade, as well as Dean Marlowe, safety.
D Marlowe, yeah.
So picking up some late round draft capital there, but
You know,
maybe it's not consequential as far as how you feel success for the team.
no, no, no. I like the depth that D Marlowe brings in particular. But I mean, you take the picks over him at this point, right? Um, it, you, the Falcons, like realistically, right? Let's assume they make the playoffs as what they're not going anywhere, right? So if you got a chance to get rid of some of the depth pieces who are good depth pieces, but get some draft capital for it and not really hurt your starting team on the field because you still have a chance at the playoffs, I think you do that, right? If you miss the playoffs because of it, you were gonna get blown out by somebody in the playoffs anyways, right? Like if the playoffs were to start today, it'd be Falcons and Cowboys. They're not winning that game. So get something for some of the guys that you were probably going to lose in the offseason anyways.
Yeah.
Fine with that.
Yeah, and just kind of going over some of the teams we already passed over. We'll try to incorporate these a little bit better as they see. Is that happening on mine? Yeah, that's good old ads popping up. We had Roquan Smith and Robert Quinn going off the Bears. Kind of got some decent draft capital for those guys. Second rounder and a fifth rounder for Roquan. And Robert Quinn, you get a fourth rounder on that one from the Ravens and Eagles, respectively. We touched upon the Panthers real quick. Obviously, the big one. I think we were able to hit on Christian McCaffrey. Obviously, last episode. Doing even more, we'll hit upon that game soon enough as far as his impact was concerned.
Oh yes.
The Robbie Anderson one to the Cardinals. That was just the writing was on the wall. Obviously, as far as the Panthers getting rid of him.
What a stupid team to pick up Robbie Anderson. Like you're already a bit of a shamble, and you pick up Robbie. He needed to go to a team.
Yeah.
That has a coach who can go, hey, you have unbelievable talent. You need to fall in line a little bit. That's not Cliff Kingsbury. That team's already dysfunctional as hell, and you add Robbie Anderson.
And,
no!
And I completely forgot about this one, and I'll ask you about this again as a Falcons fan. How do you feel about Rashad Fenton? I thought that was actually not a bad pickup as far as DB was concerned. Some potential there as far as getting him from the Chiefs.
You know, they needed something, right? I mentioned it obviously with AJ Terrell going down. They needed a cornerback. Rashad Fenton at that point was just in the way of Trent McDuffie for the Chiefs, right? And so it just kind of worked both ways, right? The Falcons
Yeah.
give up a seventh for him.
Yeah.
That's a fine gamble to make on Rashad Fenton, who has shown flashes in the league of being a pretty damn good CB. Has struggled at times as well, obviously, but you just need bodies right now, right? Guys who you can trust to be on the field. Rashad Fenton's one of those.
Yeah.
I think that was just a really smart pickup. Again, you weren't gonna sell a first or second round pick to go out and get a premium cornerback at this point because you're just even if you add that, you're still not talented enough to make a run, right? You go out and get Rashad Fenton. If it works, great. Him and H.A. Terrell will make a very good pairing. If it doesn't, you gave up nothing for him.
Yeah.
You gave it a shot. Oh well. I thought it was a really smart pickup.
All right, just squeeze those in just because we already went through some of those teams. Kind of made sense to hit upon them. We just hit upon that Miami Detroit game. Let's just keep it moving.
I think yelling about the Lions trading T.J. Hawkinson essentially sums up that game.
Yeah. Let's go to that Robbie Anderson's new team. That Arizona Cardinal team had gone into Minnesota last weekend.
They still stink.
Yeah, taking the loss, 26-34. Vikings now going on to 6-1 on the season. Arizona dropping to 3-5. Kirk Cousins having a Kirk Cousins game, 232, 2 tutties, decent enough. Dalvin Cook doing work on the ground as usual. Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen getting their receptions respectively. You at least see some decent numbers out of D-Hop there for the Cards. And
he's trying, man. He's really trying.
A bit of something there. But yeah, unfortunately, just after what was, they Cardinals team that did keep this game close at multiple points throughout the game did have the lead in the second half there. But yeah, just couldn't quite finish it off. Couldn't stop that Kirk Cousins strain from getting one more touchdown on him. And yeah, this is kind of it's impressive. Minnesota, this is a team that
good.
At this point of the season, they would honestly usually be, okay, yeah, they'll be all right. It's 4-3 team, maybe a 5-2.
Sneak into the playoffs, lose in the first round. They don't feel like that this year. They really don't.
Looking great at 6-1 right now. Yeah.
If we play game film of who are the Cardinals playing this week, of the Seattle Seahawks, we play game film of the Seattle Seahawks defense and put quick time events over the screen. Do you think Kyler Murray might watch it? Because that dude cannot read a defense to save his fucking life.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough.
It used to be, before the whole video watching thing came out, I used to look at Kyler Murray and go, a coach needs to get in his ear and be like, listen, you can't make every throw, so just make the throws that are there. Now I honestly just think he honestly just doesn't watch game film. He's throwing right into, soft zones that are just standard stuff, right? And there's no way that a defense is running this kind of a zone if it's not something they run regularly. And he's just throwing it right to guys who are sitting there. And it's like, you just don't watch game film at all, do you? That's what it is.
Yeah, I think it's more he has it's Madden brain. Oftentimes you'll just have an idea. You won't be reading the defense as things are happening. You will just have a preconceived route that I am going to throw to. And you're just locked on it. I'm throwing a B this route, no matter what. And that safety can move perfectly over right that lane. Fuck it, I'm throwing it in the double, baby.
Hot route to the quick slant. It all works every time.
I think that's what it is. I think he just literally no. I'm throwing a D hop on this. Simple as that. And I'm just gonna keep doing that route because that works all the time. It's you know, it worked for a while. It had, and this is the funny thing. This is a team that has always, at least with Kyle Murray at the helm, had the ability to be good in the first half, and it's always faded, and they're crap by the second half, and it's always been like, Cliff, you gotta get this shit right. But at this point now they're bad in the first half. Like, Murray's already been figured out to this point. So now, where do you go from here with this team? It's funny. I think they have like a good amount of the tools to be able to, they should. They should. If Murray is able to actually do his job properly, then yeah, absolutely, this team should be able to win games and compete. I think they should, but clearly haven't shown that to this point, and no reason to really believe that's going to change anytime soon for them. So, yeah, they're going to be stuck. This team somehow has wound up being the potential worst looking team in the division, along with the Rams, out of nowhere. Really, it feels like to me.
Yeah. This is a team that has a receiving core that, when they are all healthy, and I know they haven't been all healthy together this year, but when they are all healthy, is Hollywood Brown, Nuke Hopkins, Rondale Moore, Robbie Anderson, AJ Green, and they still can't win games.
Even Zach Ertz, you throw
Zach
in there.
Ertz, for fuck's sakes.
Yeah.
Cliff Kingsbury needs to be fired like yesterday.
I know that's how you felt for a while, and at this point, you're kind of wondering when. At this
only reason they hired Cliff Kingsbury is he runs a great offense, man. Okay, but offensively, they've been wildly inconsistent this year, and that would be a nice way of putting it. This is a team that scored 9 points against the Seahawks. Like, I don't know what he's there for if your offense isn't going to be winning shootouts, right? Like, the Vikings scored 34. Great. With the offense you have, that should be a reachable number. But it's not even been close for them. And I know that this game was close, but in general this year, they've looked like the second best team in almost every game they've played. And it's got to be done at this point. The Cliff Kingsbury thing, not working. You got to find somebody who can go in there, and they need somebody who can lead the reins. Because clearly Kyler Murray's not the kind of quarterback who's going to bring in the locker room and go like, hey guys, we got to focus up a little bit. We're not playing well. And I don't think that's Cliff Kingsbury either, who's going to be the guy who leads the reins. Somebody's got to bring in the reins a little bit. I don't know where it is.
Yeah. I don't see this team getting it right. So no. It's just going to be a hard season for them. And
yep.
Yeah, you're going to have to evaluate after you really you went after some players and really tried to form this team up to do things this season. And
especially in an NFC that, for the most part, is pretty weak, you should be able to be better than this. The Seahawks are leading your division, for fuck's sakes.
Yeah. True. Hey, tell me about it. Let's go, where we're talking about this Cards team that's a little hard to watch. Let's go to another team that's very hard to watch. And this was a tough game. I was watching this one. The Las Vegas Raiders going into New Orleans and getting absolutely skunked. Shut out by the Saints 24-0. And y'all looking all right. Taysom Hill trying to do enough for you. As far as the yardage, we had that little side bet, if you remember. Good old.
He still played pretty damn good, all things considered.
Yeah.
He really did.
Got some stuff on the ground there. Yeah, they weren't
Like
really targeting him in the air, but yeah, it was a fun game for him on that end. But yeah,
6.1 on the ground,
this
had
was
a
a rough game.
completion.
This was a really rough one. I mean, obviously Derek Carr getting pulled. You got to sit him. Um, yeah, Josh Jacobs, 10 rushes, 43 yards. Just was pretty ugly. I mean, yeah, you don't have your Derek Waller in there. You somehow only get Devontae Adams one catch. Like it, yeah. This is
Never
bad.
mind that. You somehow only ran Josh Jacobs 10 times.
Yeah,
Have you not seen what's worked for you? I have. Josh Jacobs has worked for you. I am so done with Josh McDaniels and the fraud of a fucking head coach he is. This isn't even Nate Hackett, first time as a head coach. You give him a chance. He's a failure. Whatever. This isn't even Josh McDaniels' first time as a head coach. You figure the Raiders would call one or two of his former players. Guys who played under, like, surely somebody has a connection to somebody who played on those Broncos teams where you could go, hey, what's Josh McDaniels like? Right? You know how when you or I go into an interview and they ask for references, grab a couple of references on Josh McDaniels. Hey, what did he do as a head? Oh, I see. He made you memorize slogans in the locker room. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he wrote up X's and O's plays on offense and never talked to the defense. Hmm. Uh-huh. Yeah, I see. What was what he cried in end of the season meetings. Huh. Yeah, maybe don't hire this guy. What more do you need to see? The guy can't coach. I get that as an offensive mind, he's a genius, and that as an offensive coordinator, he's got the tools to unlock every player he plays. You need to be more as a head coach. You can't just be an offensive guru. You need to deal with people. These are real life people. They have bullshit in their lives that you need to deal with as their head coach. This guy can clearly not do that. He has no idea how to manage personnel. He has no idea how to call a game beyond the offensive side of the game. He has no concept of clock management. His team couldn't stop Taysom Hill from running the ball for 6.1 on him. Taysom Hill! I get the fact that it's been a fun novelty.
yeah.
The first couple of weeks that it happens, fine. I told you coming into this game, they're going to use Taysom Hill a lot because they have Andy Dalton at quarterback. You still couldn't handle it. Get him out of this job. He's a bust. He was the last time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's looking like it. So, two questions, and question one's pretty obvious, I feel, as far as what your answer will be, but we'll go with number two. Because that's just, I'm not even too sure on the stats of it. Do you think he makes it through the season?
Uh-uh.
Okay. Would this now be 4 coaches in 2 seasons for the Raiders?
Yes, it would.
Fucking Christ. Yeah. Yeah, because of course, yeah, you're talking special teams, McDaniels, and whoever they choose next. Damn.
Yeah, it would be Gruden, Bisaccia, McDaniels.
Too bad they couldn't bring Basach back somehow. Just pull him right now.
If they did not offer Rich Bisaccia the head coaching job and he declined, fire everybody. Fire the whole lot.
Mark Davis just fires himself for making that decision.
Exactly. Sell the team.
Yeah.
Go back to Oakland. You know what? Fuck it. This all started when you went to Go back to Oakland.
The Coliseum's still there. They didn't tear that down or anything. It's still fucking there. It'll be fun.
Listen.
Right out the last year with the A's as they fucking sink into nothing and go somewhere else, and then yeah, you could have one more go with Oakland.
All I'm gonna say is look at the three teams who are playing in cities that they should not be in this year. Rams need to get the fuck back to St. Louis. Chargers get the fuck back to San Diego. Raiders get the fuck back to Oakland. You'll all win again. I figured it out.
There you go. Just gotta get out of the loss and the los. Yeah. Outside of that, Alvin Kamara show, good for the Saints. You stomped them.
Yeah.
You stomped them. Your defense looked pretty good. Shut them
You
out.
took advantage of an inept coach, and you did it well.
Yay.
In the division you're in, 3-5, you are very much alive in the hunt.
Let's keep it moving though. The very surprising one here, just because I'm always back in these New York squad, but the New England Patriots able to come back, got to rally back behind Mac Jones. Not necessarily because of Mac Jones, but he was the one. He was quarterbacking, so we'll just say that. And yeah, take a game in the division, go back up to 500 here with a win over the Jets. 22-17, Jets dropping down to 5-3 on the season. I think this is, if the Jets have had bad games this season, and they've only lost 3 of them, but even in some of those games where it's been a little closer and they have won them, it's been because, Zach Wilson has probably thrown a couple picks in that game, and he threw 3 in this one, and I think that was...
Or Joe Flacco.
Big reason why this game ended up being a loss for him. You can't be turning the ball over like that. He had 1 or 2 really bad ones this game. Threw for 355, so nice, impressive number on only 20 completions. But when you throw the ball 41 times, so you have under 50% completion percentage, and 3 picks to 2 tutties. Yeah, it's gonna be tough. Gonna be tough to win like that.
I will say, if this game happened this week, I bet you the Jets win it comfortably. Because I bet they'd be more comfortable giving the ball to James Robinson a little bit more.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Robinson only 5 carries.
Only 5 carries. He's still working
7.
his way into the system. He'd only been at practice for a couple days at that point.
This is honestly,
This game happens this week. I think the Jets win it rather comfortably.
This was a team, as far as the Jets were concerned, that was very much a 50-50, one of those 50-50 teams. Wilson would not be throwing the ball 41 times. Breece Hall would have been getting a lot of those carries, but unfortunately, obviously, things that happened to Breece Hall. They trade for Robinson. Robinson's not in there early enough to get comfortable with the playbook. So, yeah, we might have a little bit of the Christian McCaffrey, that we have with the Niners. You could only get that guy in so much. I don't know what his numbers were like, but usually what happens is you work that guy into your first 15 plays, right? As far as the new guy, because that's easy enough to do, scripted. But it's going to be a lot harder as the game goes on. Christian McCaffrey, I think he only got 5 touches in the second half for the Niners in that first game with them. I don't know what
Robinson got 1 carry after halftime.
Exactly. So it's unfortunate, but this is a situation where you're gonna have to work the guy in. If you want this team to have the success they're gonna have, they need to get that running game back going. So yeah, I completely agree with you on that. Matter of getting him in. Garrett Wilson, by the way, though. Sorry, I was gonna say Garrett Wilson though. We'll say, love to see the kid getting 115, 7 targets, 6 receptions there. It's a little damning though. I guess Elijah Moore after the game, he is not too happy with the lack of use that he is getting on this.
Oh, and he's still there. Yeah. Oh, they didn't trade him.
They didn't trade him. I did this in my man league, actually. I have Elijah Moore still on my squad, and I totally don't need him. And it's kind of the same thing. It's kind of funny, the parallel here.
Oh, man. He didn't trade him. The Jets would have gladly traded their games these last 2 weeks around. They would have gladly played the Bills this week when they didn't have James Robinson.
And just took a stomping and did fine with
and
it.
Took a stomping from the Bills. As compared to this week, where they will be playing the Bills, probably have a bit more of James Robinson, and still likely lose. they would have gladly switched those games around.
Right.
I think if you had asked them at the time, can we defer the Patriots game to next week?
Yeah. Right.
Because honestly, Mac Jones wasn't very good. I know 24 of 35 is a good-ish completion percentage. It's not outstanding. But 194 a touchdown and an interception, like they need to figure out quick if how much they like Mac Jones, because this has been his whole season. I think he had like one somewhat decent yardage game against the Ravens, and he threw 3 picks in it. Dude's thrown 7 picks this year, only 3 touchdowns. He's still under 1,000 yards on the season. They got to figure out quick because you're still in a playoff hunt. If you want to be there, you can be. Bailey Zappi has proven that he gives you a little bit more oomph at quarterback than Mac Jones, right? Does he still have a little bit of accuracy issues? Yeah, absolutely. He was a 5th-round pick, right? Like, you expect those kind of things. But he does give you a little bit more pop. You likely need that if you want to make the playoffs, and it's not like he's going to turn the ball over more than Mac Jones has been. I think if you want to stay in the playoff hunt, it's got to be Bailey Zappi. If you feel like Mac Jones could still be your guy for the future, you take the L on this one and you stick with Jones and let him play it out and see if he can figure it out.
Yeah.
But they got to make that choice soon, because in the AFC, you're not going to have much more losses to use.
Yeah, I feel like they'll stick with Jones. That's my gut feeling on it.
I agree.
I don't think this is like it's a clear decision. I mean, you've seen the early flash like that you get with Zappi, but then the mistakes start rolling around, and yeah, I don't know if you could really by the end of it, how much more do you feel like you're getting by playing him over Mac Jones? And by
the way Mac Jones is playing this year, a lot.
I see numbers wise right now how they obviously like that's how you got to feel as far as the case is concerned. I feel like for them going forward, it's like there's a certain amount of like internally with the team and that sort of thing, like to really have felt like you're really kind of behind this guy in Mac Jones, and he's going to be your guy of the future, that sort of thing. To like try to permanently go with that switch now, if it's not a clear medical thing, and it would probably be if they were to make this switch, there's going to be some kind of medical excuse, some reason to go on the IR. I feel like that'll come with it to kind of make it more of a more palatable, I suppose, as far as making that switch, right? We've seen this with other quarterbacks as far as the uncomfortable situation where you have a guy that you kind of ridden behind, but he's obviously not playing as well. So you want to bring in the younger guy or, the second option, and you don't want to like damage egos or perception, that sort of thing. So you're like, oh yeah, he actually is injured with a leg. He's actually going to be out for the rest of the year. We're going to play the new guy.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think they'll straight up just be like, no, we're going with Zappi. He's clearly like he's going to be our guy going forward. It's going to be more the scenario with like an injury and that sort of thing, and then we'll see where they go with it after that.
I'll just throw it out there. Zappi in 3 games, 781 yards, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions.
Yeah.
Mac Jones in 6 games, 993 yards, 3 touchdowns, 7 interceptions.
Yeah, the 7 picks, obviously.
Right, like that's my thing. It's not like with Mac Jones you're getting less production but more security of the ball. You're getting less.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's the feel. Do you feel like that's going to be a trend that continues, or is that just through the sample size of 6 in 3 games, basically? It's kind of how you have to analyze it, right? Like,
Yeah,
can that recover for Mac Jones? Will it be that bad? I don't think the ratio of that will be as bad if you continue to ride Mac Jones to the end of the season. I don't think it's that much of a tank. Like that twice more than twice as many interceptions as touchdowns. I don't think it'll be anything like that because
you would
that's
hope.
real cellar dweller numbers. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's what you bank on if you
Yeah.
continue to ride with Mac Jones at this point. Because right now you're a 500 team in an AFC East that outside the Bills that clearly look like one of your best in the league right now. You got a Miami Dolphins team that is been very up and down, very shaky week in, week out. Sometimes great on offense, sometimes not so much. Sometimes good on defense, sometimes not so much. So they've been very interesting to kind of try to measure yourself against. And then, we know the Jets that we just spoke about, how much it feels like their great records start to slip on them a little bit, but they might be able to stick with it too. So obviously a tough division in that AFC East for sure.
Yeah.
Let's keep it moving. The Battle of Pennsylvania that happened last weekend.
Not much of a battle.
Yeah, not much of a battle. This is the 1-day war, whatever, is the sort of thing, 3-hour war. We already talked about the Eagles. This was the AJ Brown show. Obviously, he racked up those 3 early tutties. Number popped on the fantasy boards early in the day for our game between me and Craig. So I was seeing AJ Brown rack this up, and I was like, oh, you got to be fucking kidding me. But other funny thing about this game, I don't have much to say about it. Other funny thing about this game, only touchdown throw that you have in this game is delivered by Chase Claypool, who the Pittsburgh Steelers now shipped off. And where the hell is Claypool playing now? He's
Bears.
Oh yeah, who in need
Could
of
use
weapons?
a receiver,
We'll
but
see.
they paid way too much for him.
Yeah, we'll see about that. I don't know. It's kind of not necessarily addition by subtraction necessarily, I feel like, for the Steelers, but I like Deontay Johnson. You got George Pickens, who you just picked up. Freiermuth. I don't know. We'll see what this team develops into. It's not going to be anything this season, obviously. And yeah, a pretty sound stomping by the Eagles on this one. Anything you want to hit upon? Because I think this was a pretty cut and dry win for the Eagles.
I mean, nothing that we haven't said a million times, right? The Steelers' offensive line is painfully bad. And they've spent years punting the ball down the line on it, right? Oh, it'll be fine. We'll get a more mobile quarterback in here. Big Ben isn't quite as mobile as he was. Or, we'll get Najee Harris in here. Unbelievable running back talent. And we'll run the ball a bit more, and that'll help the offensive. At some point, you got to recognize that the talent on the offensive line is what is not good enough. Not the people behind it, not the game plan. It's just not good enough.
Yeah.
Kenny Pickett's getting absolutely destroyed back there. He's trying. I think he's looked a little bit better in the last couple weeks as far as making the right reads and stuff like that. But there's only so much time you have to make reads when it's 1 point. Like I mentioned it last week. One of the interceptions he threw, he had 1.2 seconds from snap to throw before he got hit. Yeah. 1.2. Yeah. Not nearly good enough, right? Najee Harris looks like he's dancing out there because he's facing 3 guys coming at him every time. Jaylen Warren, thank God he's picking up a little bit of the slack at the running back position, but it's only a matter of time before he starts doing the same thing because, again, this isn't a Najee Harris problem. It's not a Kenny Pickett problem. It's not a receiver problem. Their offensive line is atrocious, and they need to address it before they're going to get any further.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty simple. I mean, I feel like the what we talked about last week with this team. If you're able to make this a little bit more of a measured attack, you're going to only help yourself out. Now, easier said than done. And I will say, it's not like they didn't try to run the ball, but they actually had some effectiveness with it. You see the numbers, and it's kind of would have to see exactly the times when these runs happen, that sort of thing. But not incredibly ineffective on the ground game. Just not nearly as many runs as they were willing to pass. And yeah, given that weak offensive line, yeah, you're kind of hanging the kid out to dry.
And it's so funny too, with all the great offensive coordinators out there who are really bad head coaches.
Right.
Fire Matt Canada as soon as possible. The dude cannot run an offense. Get him out of there. Wait for Josh McDaniels to get fired or Nate Hackett to get fired or one of those great offensive-minded coaches or great offensive coordinators who's doing a terrible job as a head coach. Get him in as your OC. It'll only help because the scheming on this team has been dreadful. And yeah, the personnel on the offensive line's not good enough, but it also needs to be schemed better. There's a lot of issues with Pittsburgh. It's a vein that runs deep.
Let's keep it moving though to a team that did kind of scheme around that sort of thing pretty effectively, helping out their young guy. As we had Malik Willis that had to kind of drop in for an injured Ryan Tannehill, or sick Ryan Tannehill, correct?
Injured, ankle injury.
Ankle injury. I thought this was a sickness one.
No.
But yeah, a 17-10 win over Houston. This is actually, it wasn't even that close. This was a 17-3 win in which Texans get a garbage time touchdown at the very, very end of the game. It's the Derrick Henry show. 219 yards, 32 carries, 2 tutties. Malik Willis passed the ball 10 times, completed 6 of those, threw a pick, but obviously that wasn't their focus. We're just going to hand the rock off. And yeah, this was a pretty weak showing. This was very interesting, and I felt like this game could have just been the two running backs going head to head. And they did try to work Dameon Pierce in this one, but to very little effectiveness. 15 rushes, 35 yards there. Obviously showed last night a lot more effectiveness. So interesting in that regard. But yeah, Tennessee Titans, that defense and that running game. You can throw anybody in quarterback back there as long as you scheme it around it. You win games against teams like the Texans.
I mean, yeah, it's almost like they've been throwing Ryan Tannehill back there for the last 2 years and winning games with him.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of people harping on Malik Willis after this one because the pick was bad. It was an overthrow. He got told the day of the game that Ryan Tannehill's ankle wasn't going to be good enough to go, and he's going to have to start. Here, rookie, congrats. It's your first game. You've been running the second team all week. Have fun. Of course he struggled a little bit with it. But it's not like the Titans did anything they don't usually do. Give the ball to Derrick Henry. Let them run out another team until they're out of gas. This is what they do when Ryan Tannehill does start. So I'm not going to harp on Malik Willis too much. I think this is a tough situation to be in. I thought he did fine with it, right? Like he didn't make back-breaking errors, right? The overthrow was bad, but given the situation, I thought he did fine with it. The Titans can win with anybody back there. We've said it before, right? Like Ryan Tannehill's not a plus at quarterback for them. We saw it when Henry went down. They looked really bad offensively because they could not move the ball. Tannehill couldn't stop throwing interceptions because he's just not a plus at quarterback. He's the guy who hands the ball to Derrick Henry. That's his primary job. Malik Willis can do that as well.
Yeah, it's I think obviously you have some intriguing stuff on Malik Willis, and that will be seen in not this season, basically. I feel like if he sees the field anytime further down this year due to injury or whatever, it's clear that the coaching, offensive coordinator, the scheme is going to change to where, we're gonna keep this thing on the ground. We're not gonna make mistakes as much as we can, and yeah, it's not gonna be a full playbook. That's for damn sure. Saw it with Malik Willis. We honestly saw it with Trey Lance. It's a different scheme. It might be a completely different playbook, that sort of thing, but it's definitely it feels a lot more limited as far as
Yeah.
what you're going to be trying to do. When you have that running game, when you have a Derrick Henry or the offensive line and all that stuff working together, absolutely. I mean, you're going to win a lot of games. I feel this way because a lot of teams aren't built for this style of.
Nope.
We've highlighted this before. The more offenses started opening things up, the more that defenses had to adjust, and the more that they're going to be not as able to, compete against teams that are going to be starting to run again.
Yeah.
It's going to come back. This is going to be a roller coaster ride. So you're going to see these teams, and they're starting to pop up with, we're gonna have a 50-50 offense again. Like we're going to actually run the ball, and we're going to continue to run the ball. Game like this is a little bit more of the extreme to where you're running the ball 3 times as much as you're passing. You can't really continue to have that and really have success against the really good teams, obviously. But yeah, you're playing the Houston Texans. You need to get a win.
Yeah.
You did fucking great. This is a easy 2-touchdown win that you didn't really sweat about at any point, really, if you're the Titans. So you'll take these all the time.
Yeah. And especially with power running backs like Henry, you were mentioning. The linebacking position's gotten a lot smaller, right? Because as a linebacker now, you need to be good in pass coverage. It's an absolute necessity. Because of that, guys tend to be a little bit smaller, a little bit more athletic, especially in the middle linebacker position. Now you don't have a lot of big, bruising middle linebackers out there anymore who can stop a guy like Derrick Henry, right? And that's just it. The Titans play counter football to what the rest of the league is playing. And it works for them. There's a reason they're 5-2. There's a reason they were the AFC's #1 seed last year. When the whole league zigs, sometimes zagging's the right call. And I think for the Titans, they've done a good job of zagging into a system that really works for them. Right to the point where you can throw a Malik Willis in there on the day of the game who has never played an NFL start and go, hand the ball to Derrick Henry, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do.
Yeah. Yeah, simple enough. Tennessee easily looked like the best in that division. Houston, as we discussed earlier, they're in this interesting place with Mills, but a team that's not going to do too well. It's going to have a good draft spot and might be looking at another quarterback coming up here. Let's keep moving, though, into the next one. What should have been the Matt Ryan versus Carson Wentz classic. Instead, the Taylor Heineke versus Sam Ehlinger. And the Washington Commanders able to pull it off, get the win 17-16. Taylor Heineke leading the troops at the end. Washington able to actually rally with 10 points in the last 5 minutes of this game to take the win. Pretty impressive in that regard. And Heineke, I mean, look at like a better option for sure at quarterback.
Both of them didn't they? I thought Ehlinger played great in that game.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, a decent, good game from Ehlinger. 17-23, 201 on that one. So yeah, not
you
bad
look
at
at. It was 3rd and 6 with about a minute and a half left. They put the ball in Ellinger's hands to kill off the game. He throws an absolute peach of a ball to Michael Pittman.
Yeah, that's right.
It right through his hands. Michael Pittman of all people. That should be the most consistent guy. Like, that was Ehlinger all game. He was not missing many throws. He looked sharp and accurate. It looked like they wanted to get his legs into the game, but Washington schemed pretty well for it. So, okay, we'll let him throw the ball then. And he threw really well. I really liked Ehlinger in this game. Heineke's got that freaking fight in him, man. He never gives up on a game. He's always out there giving it. I think what we can take from this game is, yeah, both teams made the right move, benching their high-paid, overpriced guy for the young upstart guy. I
Yeah,
liked what I saw out of both quarterbacks.
yeah.
I know we've joked a little bit about Heineke in the past, but the dude fights, and he's got that dog in him. He just, I thought this was actually a really fun game by the end, with two guys who just wanted to win really bad. And
Yeah.
who would have thought that a matchup between the Commies and the Colts earlier this season would be one of those games where you go, that was a pretty fucking fun game.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, as far as, how it came down to the end, I will say another interesting fact on this one. We kind of brought up the funny fact about Chase Claypool. Naheem Hines being the last guy to score a touchdown for this Colts team, the only guy to score a touchdown for this Colts team in this game, also ended up traded off
The
this
rich get
Colts team.
richer, man.
Um,
Naheem Hines on the Bills is going to be disgusting.
and with Jonathan Taylor going to be going out, they do get Zach Moss on
Zach
the
Moss.
return.
Yeah.
But you're going to be looking at probably Deion Jackson for this next game for the Colts in the backfield coming up. So we'll see how that goes for him.
I actually quite like Zach Moss and what I've seen of him. I know he's been stuck
Yeah,
behind a few guys in Buffalo, but every time he runs the ball, he runs it pretty decently. I wouldn't be surprised if he sees a fair share of carries in this game as well.
we'll see
Um,
how comfortable they are with handing him. I feel like it's kind of the same thing that we were just talking about with
yeah, like
the
I don't
McCaffreys
expect to
and
see
stuff.
him
Yeah.
get 15, 20 carries or anything like that, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets 7, 8 carries in this game in his first game, sees the ball a little bit. Nyheim Hines is the absolute perfect running back fit for the Buffalo Bills. Great pass catching running back. He's got freaky speed. Uh, fuck. The Bills, as if they needed another weapon for Josh Allen. Here's Nyheim Hines for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's just a good piece of business right there. And what did they end up giving up? It's like a mid-round draft pick and a guy who was stuck behind Devin Singletary in your depth chart, right? The reason why you bring in Nyheim Hines is because he does something different. Zach Moss didn't really do that. He was kind of more of the same. Um, so yeah, I thought that was just a really good piece of business. And I don't hate it for the Colts either, right? Because like I said, I've seen things out of Zach Moss where you go, in the right situation, he could do something. And maybe with Jonathan Taylor out, right? Maybe he's the kind of guy who can step in and maybe get something going for himself. I honestly thought that was one of the better, like, both teams made a pretty good move here trade of the day. I didn't hate that one for the Colts at all.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, yeah, I don't mind Moss myself. I think he'll be fine. Hines, I would hope would have had a little bit more impact on that Colts team, but had shown aspects of it, and uh, with Buffalo, it's so weird because it feels like how much they even give a shit who are their running backs as far as how that offensive operates. But yeah, might be able to make an impact in that regard and add another layer to that offense.
Well, like I said, with Nyheim Hines, you're getting him more for his pass catching ability than his running back ability,
Yeah,
right?
which is
Like,
just fine with them, exactly.
he's a decent runner of the ball. He's a great pass catching running back, right? Like, he just fits perfectly in that because he still gives you the option to run the ball, and he does it effectively, right? Like 5 rushes, 20 yards, a 4 yard average. You get that on the Bills, you're laughing, right? Um, you just need him to run the ball enough where they believe he can run it. But if he gets out into open space, he's a 14, 15 yard per catch guy really easily because he gets how to catch the ball and run after the catch. I think it's a really good addition to that offense.
Let's keep it moving, though. Talking about additions to offenses, we'll move into. That was a fun game to watch for me. The San Francisco 49ers going into Levi South, as we like to call it, SoFi North, the second home of the 49ers, going down to LA to face off against the Rams. There's one story from this show or from this game. It's the Christian McCaffrey and how he's been layered in, scoring a passing, rushing, and receiving touchdown in this game. First guy to do that for quite a bit. I think LaDainian was the last one.
2000, yeah, it was Tomlinson in 2005.
Yeah,
Don't quote me on that.
pretty nutty in that regard. I mean, this is a Rams team that's beat the shit. Their offensive line still beat the hell. They can't run the ball effectively. This is a very rough game for them offensively. On the other side, Christian McCaffrey obviously starting to get layered in here. Jeff Wilson Jr. unfortunately being his last game with the team there, going to Miami. A lot of love for Jeff Wilson, guy who just came in, undrafted free agent. Produced for the team, was there, started out, he was fourth guy on the depth chart, third guy on the depth chart, worked his way up to second before this season here. Immediately as Elijah Mitchell went down, showed some aspect, some times when he could be that lead guy, but Elijah Mitchell coming back, Christian McCaffrey now in there. You got the rookie as well, so just not enough in that backfield anymore, I suppose. So, unfortunate for Jeff Wilson. Brandon Ayuk able to step in, have a decent enough game with Deebo Samuel being out. Even started to work Kittle in a little bit there. But, this was a score was a little tight, and they didn't take the lead until the late in that second half there. But pretty much that second half was completely dominated by the Niners on this one. Rams never had their offense going at all in that second half.
Yeah, I think I jokingly said to you when, because I was at work when this game was happening, so I had to catch up after, and I think I jokingly said to you, so I hear Christian McCaffrey is now your best wide receiver, running back, and quarterback. And then I watched the throw that he made on that touchdown. Fucking dime! He might actually be your best quarterback. I said it as a joke, but that was a beautiful ball.
Yeah.
All seriousness, Garoppolo played great, right? It was a great game for Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm obviously joking about the Christian McCaffrey being your best quarterback thing, but it's just another wrinkle, right? We know he's a great pass catcher. We know he runs the ball like nobody's business. The fact that he can throw the ball too, it's just another wrinkle that he is everything I hope Taysom Hill would be. We'll call him Taysom Hill with talent. He's. I'm still gonna step back from calling them the best offense in the NFL. I know a lot of people are on that train. There is still the Bills and Chiefs. Let's simmer it down a little bit on best offense in the NFL. Best offense in the NFC? You can maybe make that claim. Dallas and Philadelphia are good, but I don't know if they're world beaters. I said it going into the Falcons game that I thought they might be the best team in the NFC. I still think they might be the best team in the NFC. If Christian McCaffrey works into the lineup this well, they're a scary team to play. Nobody wants to play them. Can Christian McCaffrey stay healthy for the rest of the year?
Yeah.
That's going to be a big question. But yeah, obviously impressive signs early.
Yeah, I mean this is a honestly great bye week for them. They got a bye week this week.
Oh yes.
They're, if anything, they have been absolutely injured to fuck in so many positions. So you're gonna get that back. Obviously, this game you didn't have a Deebo Samuel in there. You just adding another wrinkle with that. Another week for a guy like Trent Williams to get a little bit better in that regard. Another week for even a guy like your Eric Armsteads, your Jason Verrett's, guys who have been on the IR for a bit of time now.
Al Juszczyk.
Yeah, you start. Yeah, Juszczyk who broke his damn pinky, he's just trying to make a stiff arm, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't have Juszczyk in that last game too. So yeah, it's you're hoping as you're getting these guys back healthy after the bye week. You're gonna have even more to go off of on the offensive side. The defensive side was one of the more concerning things, and obviously, they did great. Granted, I will say I'm still a little apprehensive, given this is a very beat up Rams team. They just don't have the firepower like that. They have really one receiver they trust. Even a guy that you would say they trust otherwise, Higbee, he had a terrible drop, I think, in the first half in this one. So you're only really relying on Cooper Kupp. You have no run game really to speak of now on this team. And the Niners did one thing that I've brought up continuously, has been absolutely killing them this year. They stayed pretty well off the penalties this game. Only 3 penalties, 8 yards taken on that one. Gave up still 2 first downs off of those penalties, but that's something that's really killed them, really stopped drives for them on the offensive side of the ball. We're able to keep it clean in that regard. So that was great to see from them. And yeah, I think you do that, and with the potency this offense can have, no reason to think they can't really kind of reach that. I'm hesitant to be like, oh yeah, this is one of the best offenses in the NFC, because they've laid absolute stinkers as of late too, you know. But you don't only put up 14 points again. As much as I think we both agree that the Falcons are better than what people initially thought this year, you still only put up 14 points against the Falcons only a few weeks ago. So you take it with a grain of salt, I suppose, as far as being too excited. This team has been incredibly up and down, and as long as they stay penalty free, you're going to see a lot more high 20-point to low 30-point games out of this team, as opposed to those fucking cellar dweller 10-point, 17-point games that they've been putting up in their losses.
Yeah, the Falcons are a team that gives a lot of effort on every play, but they don't have the kind of talent where they should be able to hold a Niners team to 14 points. And I agree that game is definitely a problem. There's a couple of them like that, but again, we're talking about BC, baby, before Christian. Right. This offense is different now with Christian McCaffrey, and I know adding one guy shouldn't revolutionize an offense, but that one guy's Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, I hesitate to exactly, because we just haven't been able to get exposed to a player consistently in a lot of areas on this team, especially running back. I think I felt great about having a guy like Eli Mitchell, who was a 6th round pick that we have just turned into a starter because, I love how he runs and he's downhill and that sort of thing. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see the utilization of a guy like Christian McCaffrey. You obviously have the Debo factor that's shown itself. You've even seen it with guys like Kittle previously. We don't see that now because I think you have these other guys along with it. But Kittle was the guy for the tight end sweep, which was an awful play most times, but it was very funny to see. It was very funny to see being run.
I love George Kittle, and I think getting the ball into George Kittle's hands is usually a good idea. He's not fast. Of all of his strengths, his speed is definitely not the biggest one. I don't think tight end sweep is the way to go. Yeah. I could see you running tight end power and have him run it up the middle, but you have Juszczyk, right? You have the best fullback in the league. Yeah. I just don't think George Kittle should ever be running the ball, is the moral of the story.
There you go.
Can I lead into this one, Tap?
Absolutely.
Are you ready to proclaim the Seattle Seahawks as a good football team. Because you weren't last week. They're 5-3.
They're I hate their I still think their defense is garbage. Uh Obviously can't really deny at this point. I mean, Joe Smith has shown something. He hasn't written back. Um Ken Walker, it seems like he might be the guy you thought he was. And you can't deny Metcalf, Lockett. I love offensive pieces that they got. Can their defense keep them around? Granted, this game, 13 points to the Giants. It's not like the Giants have been an offensive juggernaut themselves by any regard, but you'd expected some more from them on that in that aspect. So I will say, I mean, definitely they are playing pretty goddamn good right now. I will admit that. Do I think this team is like at the end of the season this record good? No. Like if you were to extrapolate this to the full season, you're talking about what, like a 10-6,
7-7.
10-7? No. This
Oh,
is like I think
man.
this is still like an 8-9 win team. I think the second half is going to be we'll come back to reality for the Seattle team.
Okay. Okay, time for me to be voice of reason.
Okay.
Seahawks last 3 games. 9 points, 23 against a very, very talented Chargers offense, and 13. That defense is fitting together. They're starting to figure something out. Quads, 20 carries, 53 yards, 2.6 yard average. They shut down Quads. He was not able to move the ball at all. They've been the only team who's been able to do that this year.
Yeah, absolutely. You're not wrong. This is a nice stretch of 3 games for them. This is a team that just before that gave up 39 points to the New Orleans Saints and 45 points to the Detroit Lions. I know the Detroit Lions were on that offensive upswing right there. That's a little bit different of a realm of football game. But I'm not super sold, especially against the likes of the Chargers and Cardinals have shown weird holes in their game all year. I don't trust either of those teams. The Giants is a very nice stomping that they had last week. I will absolutely say that. This was a very, very clean, effective win for the Seattle. They looked good in this game, for sure. No doubt.
Here is the rest of the Seahawks season. Cardinals, Bucks, Raiders, Rams, Panthers, Niners, Chiefs, Jets, Rams again. There's 2 guaranteed losses in there, 1 questionable one, and the rest are all wins.
I don't know about guaranteed. I think this is...
They're losing to the Niners and Chiefs, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Beyond that, the Jets, who knows what Jets team's going to show up at any given day. Rams stink, Bucks stink, Cardinals stink, Raiders stink, Panthers stink.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of those teams do stink. It's like, it's weird though. It's like, okay, Carolina sucks, but as we talked about, like they have this weird effect. They've lost games that they were in. They were absolutely. They should have won, honestly, against the Falcons last week.
100%.
Like 2-3 times, they should have won that game, even though it was very last minute that they even got the ability to even have the win on that game. They still had that opportunity. They had another field goal opportunity. Yeah, enough said.
Remember what I said about the Giants, that they let teams shoot themselves in the foot.
Right.
The Seahawks do much the similar. They don't make a ton of mistakes. They let other teams make mistakes, and they capitalize on them. Not that the Giants made a ton of mistakes in this game, but the Seahawks didn't make any, right? And this Giants team isn't going to be able to win a ton of games unless the other team makes a couple mistakes along the way. right? They're not talented enough offensively to
Yeah, I
really.
mean this was a terrible game.
Yeah,
This was a terrible game for the Giants. It was a lot of turnovers. Um,
yeah,
2 fumbles lost on this one for them. Um, Still had to, both teams punted the ball 6 times. They're not like crazy offense that was flipping back and forth between the two sides. But yeah, you're not making nearly as many mistakes. You're keeping keeping themselves clean off the penalties, and yeah, I think for the most part, um, you're doing just enough right by the Seattle. There's other things that stand out to me though. It's like this is a team that still was 3 of 13 on third downs. So even offensive, like not the greatest consistency in that regard. They did have to punt 6 times due to that.
yeah.
Um, I I think they're good enough to win certain games, like kind of within a vacuum. I almost feel like this was a uh, everything very nicely lined up for them. They are on a nice little streak of games here, coming off of a couple wins. This team also has all the potential to be absolutely shut out by better teams, and I hesitate to think that even this spread between them and the Cardinals right now, it's only a 2 point spread in which the Cards are actually favored, I believe, right?
Yes.
I don't agree with that by any means. But I mean, I also I can't help but kind of agree with the bookmakers on this one. Like this is despite having a 5-3 record versus the 3-5 team, it's a lot more wishy-washy between those two squads. I'm not sold on Seattle quite
Your
yet.
Seattle hatred just bubbling to the surface.
I mean, no doubt, but
Um,
but I just I've seen this team play, and they've not been good at times this season,
they've
and
had
I
points,
don't think
yeah.
this defense is anything to write home about by any
In a
means.
league where I can say safely 20 of the teams absolutely suck, being the Seahawks is definitely good enough to make the playoffs. Easily. No question.
Yeah, and 9 wins probably gets them to the playoffs, but I don't think they're like a 10-win
I
team.
don't think 9 wins gets you the playoffs. I think you need 10.
In the NFC, I could have swore you've been all over that
I
nine
so the
win
reason I
NFC.
flipped that is because of that freaking NFC East. Right, because all three
Okay,
of those top NFC
all
East
right,
teams have been able to maintain such a strong record.
I'll give you that. Yeah, yeah.
Right. I figured one of those three NFC East teams would drop off a little bit back down to the median. Um, since they haven't, I think you're probably gonna need 10 to sneak in. Because I imagine the Niners overtake the Seahawks in that division as the best team. Um, and I imagine, like, surely to God, the Packers sneak up, right? Like, surely they figure something out with that team.
Well,
I'm
let's
just,
yeah,
yeah, let's go to it.
let's go right to it, and because this game, this is our Monday night game, and this game sucked. Or no, sorry, this was our Sunday night game, and this game sucked. Yeah, Packers losing to the Bills 27-17. It wasn't even 27. This was really like a 27-10 game. They got a garbage touchdown
It,
toward the
and
end.
it was the worst game Josh Allen's played all year. One of the worst games he's played in his career, probably. He was terrible in that game. And the Packers did everything right offensively. They put the ball on the ground. They let Jones and Dillon run it. They both ran it great. And yet they still couldn't figure it
Yeah.
out. I don't I I don't know what it is at this point, right? Like I don't know what the medicine is that gets the Packers back on track to where you expect a Packers team to be. Um, because I thought for sure it was like just run the ball more, guys. Like your running backs are really good, use them. And they did, and it was effective. You can see it in the numbers. It's very effective. Still didn't happen. And now I just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think this game, it kind of got away from them already, like within the first half there. Clearly by the
Yeah.
score. Uh, a lot of penalties again. This Packers team has penalized 8 times in this game. Um, some inopportune ones as well, as far as I think 3 of those for first downs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when you're a team that's not got it going offensively, you go down 24-7 by the time you're going in at halftime. Seems pretty goddamn insurmountable. And yeah, exactly. The Bills didn't play well. I think, yeah, definitely throughout this game, but at that point, the game was over. Like this Packers team, they do want to probably run the ball and be more effective in that way. And yeah, the numbers look decent at the end, but you know, 143 yards for Aaron Jones means nothing because none of it was effective in actually keeping this team in the game early on when they needed it. Penalties brought some of those drives back for sure
I
against
was
them.
gonna say, is that really on Aaron Jones at that
No, of
point?
course
Like,
not. No, not blaming
yeah,
Aaron Jones by any means. Just this Green Bay Packer team as a whole. I mean,
yeah,
this is the same shit that played the Niners. You have some effective runs that are getting called back because all of a sudden you're taking a 10-yard holding,
old.
and you're talking about a 2nd and 2 or whatever that gets turned into a 1st and 20. The team's not built to be able to move the ball down
Yeah,
like that. You put that in a Pat Mahomes hands, and all of a sudden, uh, and yeah, maybe you can actually put together 20 yards in a couple, couple plays like that, and it's not so insurmountable. But it seems like for this Packer team right now, they don't have that going on their offense in the passing game.
yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I think even Mahomes would struggle with this receiving core,
Yeah,
though.
sure, exactly,
It
and
it's bad.
there's to do with that. I think it's a little bit of the play calling. I think it's Rodgers, he could point fingers and say, we need to get in
Yeah,
a line and people need to play certain minutes because they're not performing, but he's not performing too. He's making
he's not
some bad
performing either.
decisions. He's making some check down plays. He's going right to a throw in the backfield that goes for -1 yards. It's like a lot of this is on you too, buddy. Like
Yeah,
he's clearly not getting the ball downfield. Yeah, his receivers probably aren't running great routes, and he doesn't have windows to throw to, but um, I, it needs to be schemed up a little bit better, and you need to be able to, when the opportunity arises, be able to actually get those balls to those guys. Haven't been able to do it. Uh,
yeah. I don't. Yeah, I don't know what the answer is.
eh,
I still there's still part of me that's like, surely they're gonna figure it out. But
and I'll hit upon this last game here since we're 2 hours in right now. We start getting to the picks.
yeah,
But Monday night's game, this one another disappointing quarterback performance. I needed Joe Burrow to turn out, but unfortunately, Joe Burrow and the Bengals taking a bad L to the Jacoby Brissett led Cleveland Browns. Browns taking it 32-13. This one never close.
nope,
Never close.
nope.
This was pretty soundly won by Cleveland by the end of the third quarter there. Um, Nick Chubb doing Nick Chubb things. Brissett
Fun
staying
fact,
pretty
very
clean.
good.
And yeah, Amari Cooper, actually, oddly enough, looking pretty nice in this game as well. Doing
Yeah,
some.
except for that interception he threw, but
Oh yeah, that's true. That's right. He is in the box
but
score there for that pick. That's right.
yeah, yeah, that was the worst part of his game was he threw an interception. He was very good beyond that. Yeah, Nick Chubb's very good. I'm surprised nobody made a move for Kareem Hunt.
Hmm. Right.
I thought that was going to be a piece on the move for sure.
Probably get some good value. I gotta imagine as far as a pick for a guy like that's concerned. Still a young guy.
Do you think
Shows
I'm
tools. I'm thinking like third round. you could probably get
I'm
for a
not
Kareem Hunt.
sure if a team would be willing to pay that for Kareem Hunt. There's there's other things that come with Kareem Hunt beyond the play on the field.
Right.
Right, and I think that's as big a thing as anything else. Is you pick up Kareem Hunt, you pick up all the baggage that comes with Kareem Hunt. This is a guy who's been suspended 3 times for personal conduct violations, right? Like obviously there's the big one. Everybody knows about it. We don't need to go over it every time, but
Right.
that's not his only one, right? Like he's
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
3 different personal conduct suspensions. That is something you need to keep in mind with them.
True. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, really considering that, yeah, fourth round would be way more acceptable, if even that. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's just there's a lot of baggage there.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, got to be disappointed. If you're thinking the Bengals, you're like, all right, we get over the hump, above 500 team. Taking the division, that sort of thing, and instead you just lay an absolute egg against the Browns. We were both very suspicious of this one because this one had that close spread, right?
It was a close
It was
spread
a
that we were
+3,
both
and we were
like,
like, bullshit. This is Cincinnati, and then we get
we were both
absolutely
like,
lost.
Cincinnati kind of looks like they're back, and the Browns still kind of look like they stink.
Nope.
And then, no,
Yeah.
no, that's not the case. Turns out a lot of teams in the NFL stink, and the Bengals might just be one of them.
Yep. Yep. Well, and on that, and as far as trying to figure out how good and bad these teams are, let's move right into our Week 9 picks. Let's jump right into it, and awesome, we get a good one on this first pick. We get your Atlanta Falcons, Craig. Chargers going to be heading into Atlanta to play the Falcons. It's going to be a 10 a.m. kickoff. Chargers going to get it -3 coming in here on the road. 4-3 on the year for the Chargers. 4-4 for the Falcons, by the way. Who you got?
I've never been more confident saying the Atlanta Falcons in my life. No Mike Williams,
Right.
no Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
Josh Palmer is playing. Um, the Falcons have Cordero Patterson back. I think the Falcons not only cover the spread, but they win this game outright. I think the Falcons are a better team than we maybe realize. Not necessarily talent-wise, but they're schemed really well. They play within themselves. They know exactly what they want to do with the ball. I don't think the Chargers know what their identity is. I don't think without Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, I don't think they really know what they want to do. I think that continues in this game. I think this is one of those games where the Falcons make less mistakes than the Chargers, and that wins them the game.
Yeah, you bring up the injuries. Yeah, you talk about your 2 wideouts are going to be really looking for going to be out the game for Herbert. This is already a Chargers team that's really looked out of sorts, even
Yeah.
though they're above 500 team. They really haven't looked like it. This is a team that's really looked bad at times. Obviously, they're still hurting a lot from that Joey Bosa loss earlier in the season because this defense hasn't been right the entire time. They just let up 37 points to the Seattle Seahawks, which is kind of inexcusable. Atlanta Falcons, we talked last week about the big hurt for them was the losses they have had recently at corner. AJ Terrell, Casey Hayward,
Yeah.
before that in the IR. The one time you probably won't feel that hurt so much is when the other team has their top 2 wide receivers out. So bank it on that. Cordero, I know he's coming back off IR this week. I don't know how much they'll actually use him. I'm interested in it because I have him on my bench right now in fantasy, but I'm honestly not expecting them to go too much to him. I think they have a decent thing with Aguilar and Huntley. Is it
Algier and Huntley?
Algier? Yeah. So I think they got something there. pattern-wise, this is a team that has gone win-loss, win-loss, win, like back and
Yeah.
forth as far as their record's concerned in Atlanta, but maybe they'll break that streak here. I do like Atlanta myself in this one. Let's keep it going into the next one, a classic as far as the historic NFL is concerned. Very interesting one. I feel like almost a surprisingly closer one at this point than I would have said maybe a couple weeks ago with these two teams. But we got the Miami Dolphins going into Chicago to face off against the Bears. Bears getting +4 here at home. Dolphins coming in 5-3. Bears at 3-5. Miami has come off a couple wins against Pittsburgh and Detroit. Closer wins than you maybe would have expected. 3 losses before that. Bears, they came off that tough loss against Dallas that we were talking about, but a very nice win against New England prior to that. Who you got in this one, Craig?
I was nearly on the upset train. I was nearly at home, right? It's Chicago in November. It's gonna be cold. It's gonna be not fun to play in. I was nearly on the upset train, but I trading Roquan Smith and Robert Quinn, I just think
Right.
that defense has lost a little bit too much.
Yeah.
I like a lot of what they're doing with the offense right now. I like using Justin Fields in the run and pass. He's got a good enough arm to do it, and I think moving the pocket around helps make up for some of your issues with on offense with the line issues they've had. I just I think Miami adding Bradley Chubb is going to help a lot in this game as well.
Right.
I feel like that Bears defense has lost a little bit too much to keep this thing within that. Was it 4 point spread you have?
Yes.
Yeah, I had 5 earlier, but whatever it is, it doesn't matter. I'm still gonna go with Miami on this one. I think they'll be able to win by enough. I don't think it's gonna be embarrassing for the Bears, but I do think Miami's gonna put up enough to win this game by a decent enough margin.
Yeah. I gotta agree with pretty much everything right there. Yeah, Miami's a team that has gotten themselves stronger right before the trade deadline. Bears clearly got themselves weaker. Yeah, and especially on the defensive side, which has been pretty good for them as far as interceptions. Roquan Smith being one of your better pass coverage linebackers for sure in the league.
Yeah.
You just lost him on that one. Yeah, a defense that has generally played pretty well for you. 5th best passing yards against in the league as well. Yeah, you're losing that for sure. I do again, yeah. To kind of reiterate your point, I like some of the things that the Bears seem to be doing as far as how they're running the offense, scheming around Justin Fields, utilizing a guy like Khalil Herbert. I think Miami has shown how good they could be with their play earlier in the season. They have definitely had some. It's been a rocky one for them,
Yeah.
but they have started to right the ship a little bit, coming off of a couple wins against kind of more or less cupcakes in the league. I feel like the Chicago Bears team's a bit better than those, but they should be able to handle business here on the road. And yeah, I got them by better than 4 in this one myself.
Like I said, I like a lot of what Chicago's doing offensively, and I don't think it's going to be embarrassing, but it'll be more than 4.
Let's keep it moving into that Cincinnati Bengal team that we were just talking about not too long ago. Going to be hosting the Carolina Panthers. Carolina coming in at 2-6. Cincinnati sitting at 4-4, and Cincy getting -7 here at home against the PJ Walker led Panthers. Chuba Hubbard going to be out. I guess that's the most significant thing to pop up. So it's going to be a Deonta Foreman led backfield again with PJ Walker there. Foreman's done pretty decently in trying to pick up the pieces there. Jamar Chase still going to be out for the Bengals for the foreseeable time here. So you got Boyd, you got Higgins that Burrow's going to be going to. Coming off a really bad game against the Browns, though. And Panthers, a team that's kind of hung around there, and PJ's look good, but they seem to lose these games. Both these teams kind of seem to lose some games when They really shouldn't have. How do you feel about this one?
At first, I was really on the Panthers to cover this spread. At first I thought, Bengals will probably win, but it'll be close. Deontay Jackson being out with an ankle injury,
Hmm.
combined with what the real weakness of the Bengals is, makes me think Cincinnati wins this by a little bit more. The weakness of the Bengals isn't necessarily their ability to throw the ball, and it's not even, their ability to throw the ball to guys without Jamar Chase. It's the fact that Burrow gets sacked a lot,
Yeah.
29 times this year. The issue is the Panthers only have 12 sacks this season. They don't get to the quarterback very well. You give Joe Burrow time in the pocket, he will find ways to throw the ball around and get touchdowns. I think I like a lot of what this Panthers team is doing. I think under Steve Wilkes, they've looked a lot better, but this is just matchup wise not very good for them. Deontay Foreman will do his best. He's since he became the primary starter, only Derrick Henry and Travis Etienne have more yards rushing than he does, which is a crazy thing to say.
Hmm.
But I think this is just a bad matchup for the Panthers, right? The Bengals offense loves playing teams like the Panthers defense who just cannot get to the quarterback consistently. I think the Bengals end up winning this by a decent chunk.
Yeah, I got the Bengals myself. Yeah, I like aspects of what Carolina has, despite the win loss record. Yeah, brought up PJ before. I even like a guy like Foreman, that sort of thing. But yeah, this team's kind of been in sell mode. They kind of know what time it is, and
Yeah.
they might surprise some teams with some wins, that sort of thing. Cincinnati knows they've really fumbled some early games this season.
Yeah.
You have to be aware of that, and you're sitting at 500 now. You really shouldn't be. Um, gotta imagine at home you handle this game and you handle it pretty well. I don't like the spread. This is I so easily see
Yeah.
this as within a touchdown. It might be given that it's exactly a touchdown though. I actually see a decent chance of this being like
A push.
a push exactly. An exacta, yeah, exact. Just uh, so likely that this is like a touchdown win for him. And yeah, it might be 10, and then yeah, they get within a field goal for Carolina later, something like that. But exactly, it's just I'll take Cincinnati just for the belief that they'll win this game and they'll win it handily. That they do it by better than a touchdown. Um, keep it going into an NFC North matchup. And this one's a lot spicier than I would ever expected. But just kind of goes to show how bad this Green Bay team has been on offense, anyways. Green Bay going into Detroit. Detroit getting plus 3.5 here at home. Sitting at a 1-6 record. Green Bay at 3-5. Both teams coming off of losses. Packers have lost last 4 straight. Lions, I think, the last 5. Yeah, last 5. It's going to be a rough game. These are the toughest ones to call because the Packers have shown nothing in the ability to put up numbers on offense. But if there's one team they could do it against, it would be Detroit easily. DeAndre Swift, he's probably not 100% back. You just lost TJ Hawkinson. I'll tell you right now, it was tough for me to do it, but I had to put the Packers because how could I really put anything on Detroit right now, given how it's gone this
I
season?
had the exact same problem as you did. And then I was like, oh, well, I'll just look up against the spread numbers, right? Go with that. Both these teams are 0-5 in their last 5 against the spread. Fuck off.
Oh,
Um,
he's the ones.
uh,
Oh,
I'm also gonna go with the Packers because surely to God, there's no way the Lions can win after trading TJ Hawkinson, right? Like, you traded away your most dangerous weapon against this Packers defense. Jair Alexander will be able to do the job he needs to do against Amon-Ra St. Brown to force Khalif Raymond to beat them. And without TJ Hawkinson, I don't think Khalif Raymond can do that. I think I don't think the Packers go crazy, but I do
Yeah.
think that running game that they have will do enough to get them a win on this one. If they're going to be willing to commit to it like they did against Buffalo, it'll work against Detroit. That defense is really bad against the run. Um, I I'm not confident in it, but I also got the Packers
Yeah.
question mark.
Yeah. That's kind of it. It's like might be looking a little bit more back on history. You're still talking about a guy that literally just won the last two MVPs in Aaron Rodgers. It couldn't have fallen off this bad. His wide receivers are obviously not there, but this is a team they should be able to get some windows.
Yeah.
You should get open. You should be able to get the ball downfield. This should be easily winning this game by more than 3.5 points for the Pack. So you just gotta go with that. But
Yeah.
um,
I
I
don't
mean,
love it.
what a story if they were to lose this game, though. Oh my, that will be some fun to talk about next week if they do.
Oh my God. They
Um,
lose to the fucking Lions.
yeah, the Lions, yeah, and we'll see what happens with them going forward. Knew wasn't gonna be like, oh yeah, instantly like second season Dan Campbell
Yeah.
will be great or anything like that, but God, it's bad.
I didn't expect freaking Jared Goff to go fully back to Jared Goff. I thought he'd found a little bit of form in Detroit and was
Yeah,
feeling good. No, he's still just Jared Goff.
it's
I
just
do think I still have faith that once you get a new quarterback in there, the results will come with that.
yeah,
Look forward to next season, Detroit fans. I do think there is positive things to come because I like a lot of the pieces on that offense, but it's being held back by the fact that they don't have a competent quarterback.
yeah. They there's quite a few things, but yeah, they're not gonna go far with
No,
golf. No
no.
doubt. Um, hey, talking about quarterbacks that might hold them back. Let's go into the Indianapolis Colts going into New England against the Patriots. We were talking about Mac Jones earlier. I guess that's why I brought that up.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, Colts obviously had their missteps with Matt Ryan in that regard too. But into this one, won't be Matt Ryan back there. It will be still Sam Ellinger led. Pat's going to be going and sticking with their boy Mac Jones on this one. Uh, New England coming in still at a 500 record, or hosting at a 500 record, 4-4 on the year. Indianapolis sitting at 3-4-1. Pat's going to be getting -6 here at home, though. And then, yeah, other standout news. You got Jonathan Taylor going to be out for the Colts and had just traded Naheem Hines. We talked about Moss earlier, but likely to see a decent amount of Deion Jackson in this game for the Colts. So it's going to be a little bit different as far as what you're going to see out of this Colt offense, but you haven't seen much out of this Colts offense regardless. One of the worst in the league. Uh, Not like Mac Jones has blown any doors off either. So I don't know, this is going to be a struggle game right here in a -6 for New England.
I think you're going down the same path I am.
Yeah, how can I have any real confidence that New England's going to do that much damage, even if they do win? So I got Indy.
Yeah, this is an easy 2017 game one way or the other, right? There's
Yeah.
nobody's putting up a ton of points in this game. This game's gonna be close the whole way around. I actually like the Colts outright in this. I liked a lot of what I saw out of Sam Ellinger. And I know you're missing Jonathan Taylor, but it's not like Taylor ran for a particularly mind-blowing average last week. He was 4.8,
Yeah.
right? You can get that out of
Decent.
Deion Johnson with the way that they're running the ball, absolutely, right? Because a lot of their runs were RPOs, right? Or straight up read options sometimes, where it was like, I'm either gonna give this ball or I'm gonna keep it. You have a very interesting option with Sam Ellinger's legs. He looked really good last week. I have no reason to believe that he's not gonna look that good again. I have no reason to believe that Mac Jones isn't going to continue to do what he's done all season. This game's gonna be close. And regardless of who I like outright, we bet against the spread, and I like the Colts easily in the 6 point with 6 points to spare.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I mean, Pat's coming off of, they've won 3 of their last 4. Colts, 2 of their last 4, and last 2 games have been losses. So a little bit rough as far as that swing is concerned. Despite, Ellinger looking perhaps decent enough in that game, they still lost 17-16 against that
Yeah,
a Washington Commanders team that's not blowing doors off anybody. It doesn't have a defense that really should be holding anybody to 16 points. If you have a capable enough offense. That being said, we've seen how damaged this Colts team is on the offensive side, especially in the trenches. There's a reason why Jonathan Taylor has not
yeah,
been anything like he has been outside of this last game and then week 1. Like, this last game was decent for him, but it's been bad otherwise for him. So just decent was kind of a nice sight to see for him, but then he's immediately out again. I don't think you could love the offensive situation that the Colts are in right now. As much as Ellinger might be fine, you just oh hooray, Michael Pittman Jr. that just lost you potentially the game on a drop.
more or less. Yeah,
Yeah.
you would have won if he just holds onto the ball.
It seems like Pierce has been getting some looks, and
I
some people like him. That's
I
great. And
I do like Alec Pierce as well,
and
but
I've always rooted for Paris Campbell just because unfortunate injury history and just trying to come back from that, hoping that he could have something of a career in the league for a guy that has some talent, has had some speed and that sort of thing. But yeah, Colts. Obviously, this has been a very disappointing season. If you take a look at them stat wise, though, I mean, a pretty fantastic job defensively that they still have. You're talking about 7th in the league on points, 9th best in the league as far as total yards are concerned. So they keep that up and they're able to get that offense going in any sort of way. Yeah, they'll be fine. I don't think New England moves the ball particularly effectively, and no reason to think that they'll beat out this -6 here. So Colts all the way on this one.
7 interceptions too is just ringing in my head, right? Like Mac Jones cannot keep turning over the ball like that, right? And expect the Patriots to be winning by 6-7 points. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah. Well, that might be a big spread for that game. We got another big spread and another one here. An AFC East matchup. The Buffalo Bills 6-1 going into the New York Jets sitting at 5-3. Jets getting +11.5 here at home. Bills obviously regarded as one of the best in the league right now. Have a lot of those stats to show for it. Josh Allen led, that sort of thing. Wilson and the Jets have looked good. Unfortunately, Breece Hall injury. Hoping to get James Robinson worked in there. Zach Wilson needs to start making some better decisions. But this Jets team is winners of 4 of their last 5, just taking that last loss against New England. Same thing for the Bills, winners of their 4 of their last 5, winning 4 straight, and most recently against Green Bay in a pretty sound win against the Packers.
Like not playing well.
Yes,
right?
yeah,
Like that
exactly.
was they
Arguably,
played poorly in that game and still won by double digits.
For me, I'll say right now, as good, and I think this obviously, no doubt, this Buffalo Bills team is great. And I've shown my this weird affinity for these New York teams. You put an 11.5 point spread against the board, and what the hell else am I supposed to do? For a team that has won more games than they've lost, there's no way I cannot pick the New York Jets in this game at home to not keep it within 11.5 points. It's absolutely insane spread. These are ones we lose all the time, but you know what? I gotta go Jets on this one. It just feels like too much of the smart pick here. given that.
This was my hardest one this week. I'm still not 100% sure. I I agree with the one I wrote down because, like, I've mentioned it numerous times, but I don't think it's being brought up enough. How fucking good Sauce Gardner has been this year.
Oh, baby, yeah.
Sauce Gardner,
Rookie of the year.
in his last 6 games, he has not allowed a receiver to get more than 3 receptions or 20 yards off of him as the primary defender. His completion percentage against this year, when he is the nearest defender, 32.1%. The guy allows nothing. That being said, the Bills are the 4th best team in the league in takeaways. They've got 14 of them this season. Oh boy, does Zach Wilson like just giving the ball to the other team frequently. That's where I think this difference is. I do like the Bills to take this by over 11.5. I think they get at least a 2 touchdown win out of this because Zach Wilson just can't stop throwing them turnovers. Right? He's got apple turnovers on the bakery sheet. He's got blueberry turnovers, peach turnovers. He's got them all for you. I don't.
Here we go. We gotta do this. We gotta do this right now, and this is the reason why. Because you made the crazy bet last week. You love your boy Taysom Hill.
I went for fun. I regret nothing.
We combined those sons of bitches. We didn't even go 50-50-50. We just did 150 all-purpose. Wasn't able to do it. Got 70-something, I think, at the end of the day.
It was a good game from him, nonetheless.
Not too bad. It was looking decent, actually, at the first quarter. Like, after the first quarter, he was right on pace. It was very close. I will make this one. Not only do I believe that, yes, we're going to split on this. I believe the Jets will keep this a lot closer against the Bills here. I would go as far to say, I don't know. Yeah, maybe this won't be as outlandish. It really depends on how the offenses ran. So I don't know. Maybe this isn't the best bet. What I was initially going to say is I believe Josh Allen throws more interceptions in this game than Zach Wilson.
It's
a very
wild, but it's not near Taysom Hill wild.
It's a very pass heavy offense for the Buffalo Bills. It's a very hopefully more running offense. So let me do this one instead. Because we brought up Sauce Gardner. Mainly has been focused on primary receivers, correct?
Yeah, he's usually against the top guy.
I'm going to say Stephon Diggs, less than 50 receiving yards.
Oh, see, and I don't even want to take that one.
And I would put 5 gifties on that.
Oh, I don't want to give you more subs. Here's the thing. I think there's a very realistic possibility that they try to move their receivers around a little bit and get them on Gabe Davis, get them on some other guys, and get Diggs away from them. So I'll say I'll take that because I think there's a chance that they try to do some things to get him away from Sauce Gardner.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll take that. Absolutely.
All right.
I think they'll try to maneuver Diggs into situations where they have Sauce on other guys.
All right. Stephon Diggs under 50 yards receiving.
If Sauce can stay close to Stephon Diggs, you have a good chance at that one because the guy is that good as a cornerback. I think I will make a very bold claim, and people might think I'm crazy, but those people haven't watched enough Jets games. He's a rookie. He's already a top 5 cornerback in the NFL.
I mean, the way they play him, they literally they're doing the Revis Island. Like
that's exactly what they're doing. It's Gardner Island, and it's working.
I've seen how they line it up, especially when they decide to go ISO with their primary, and then they do like trips on the other side,
Yep.
they will just flood the other side and just be like, no, you're going to have to deal with both safeties.
Dare you to beat Sauce.
We're going to have Sauce one-on-one with your ISO on the other
Dare
side.
you to beat Sauce.
Crazy.
And nobody can.
It's getting to that Revis Island aspect. And
it very much is, but I just think the Bills scheme a little bit better than that. I think they'll find ways to get some creative rub routes out there, get some stuff to maybe get Sauce away from Diggs enough where he can get his yards.
Yeah. Respect it. It'll be an interesting one. I think it's still a crazy spread based on the two teams. I know Buffalo's been good, but good God. I don't know about that one. I don't know.
Like I said, this is the pick I am the least confident on. Because I could easily see this being a very tight game. Of course, the Jets have been shockingly good this year. The Bills' defense versus Zach Wilson feels like 6 interceptions levels of ridiculous. I'm not putting a bet on that one. I'm just saying it does feel kind of like that.
Let's go into the next one. A bit of a spicy NFC matchup, and I'll give you a couple stats as I go into your opinion on this one. The Minnesota Vikings going into Washington to face off against the Commanders. Commanders getting just +3 here at home. Minnesota's obviously they've been pretty damn good, 6-1 on the year. Washington not too bad in a very strong NFC East. They're still sitting here at 4-4. Interesting fact about this game though. On the money line, 93% of the bets and 94% of the money are going to Minnesota. People are hammering Minnesota on this one, and I can't help but agree. I'm on Minnesota for this one. Just based on obviously their play, 6-1 for a reason, right?
And they added freaking TJ Hawkinson. They're 6-1, and they added TJ Hawkinson. I'm sorry, I don't get this spread. I know the Commanders have been,
and we like Heineke. We like Heineke, but come on.
I love Heineke. He's got that dog in him. You know, he plays well.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where the Commanders have a ceiling to how good they are, and it's not even close to the Vikings ceiling right now. Right? It's got to be Minnesota. Minnesota's going to win this game by more than this spread.
Yeah.
Washington, by the way, 0-3 this season against teams with a winning record against the spread. They just... They're punching well above their weight for what they have. And I think Heineke makes them instantly a better team than when they had... Oh, man, I hate when I blank on names like this.
Wentz.
Heineke makes them... That's how bad Carson Wentz was. I already forgot he exists. Heineke makes them instantly better because he just doesn't make stupid mistakes. And he still has that Carson Wentz mentality of like, I'm going to huck it deep when I feel like it, but he's not going to do it stupidly. I think Heineke is kind of like the optimized version of where Carson Wentz is right now. But there's just not enough talent there to beat a team like Minnesota. They got a lot of fight in them. They got a lot of heart, but they just don't have the same talent level as Minnesota.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, their one weakness is in their pass defense as far as Vikings are concerned. So it'll be interesting. Scary Terry has been playing quite a bit better in the last couple weeks. That would be the one hole I would
almost
say.
Like we got a quarterback a couple weeks ago.
Exactly. So, and you know, obviously, someone with some familiarity with the guy too. You know, it's not like they haven't thrown the ball from one to the other before. So, you got that going for you. You do have an out Dotson as well, so even probably more going to be lean on it. This Washington team, despite I do like their running backs, they don't seem too dedicated to getting them too many touches. Gibson limited, Brian Robinson, right? A little limited. McKissick's going to be out for this game. So,
and none of those guys are Dalvin Cook, by the way.
Yeah, so, like...
That's another thing.
I think there's potential there for Washington to take advantage of a weak Vikings defense. but I don't really see it at the same time. I think just having one guy, it's not going to make enough of a dent. And yeah, I think Minnesota a win and easily a win by more than 3. So
Yeah, it's just sometimes you just got to bet on the talent, right?
yeah,
Like I love a lot about the Commanders. I think they're going to win quite a few more games this year. I think they're going to give some teams a real shock. I just don't think Minnesota's one of them.
we'll move on to the next one here, and this one being a this one tricky just because now you're having to pick teams that only have won a couple games on the year. What are you going to get out of either one of these squads? We got the Las Vegas Raiders going into Jacksonville to face off against the Jaguars. 2-5 for the Raiders, 2-6 for the Jags. Jags getting +2 here at home. Talked previously about the James Robinson trade, the struggles of the Jags, and then, yeah, the complete struggles of the Raiders getting absolutely shut out last week against New Orleans. What are you thinking on this one?
Hammer the Jaguars.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
This Raiders team sucks. And their coach sucks. Travis Etienne's going to run for like 500 yards. Like, what are they going to do to stop him? This is a team that could hardly stop Taysom Hill from running consistently on him. You're going to stop Travis Etienne? Get out of here. Hammer the Jaguars.
Yeah. Yeah, I got Jags too. Yeah, like ETN, I think you actually have a pretty damn good defense as far as Jags are concerned. When everything's kind of going well for them, their offense keeps them well enough, on the field and not having to play 40 minutes. They should be fine. We brought up the Griffin injury that really does hurt them.
Yeah.
They're going to be really hurting on. They're going to be losing a lot of games. With him out, I feel he's a difference maker as far as really their defense working as a whole. That being said, I have no real confidence in what the Raiders have been able to do. I think they'll be better than getting completely shut out against New Orleans. I don't think it's going to be nearly enough. Jaguars get off the schneid here after 5 straight losses, and I think pick up a win here against the Raiders.
Here's the thing. There's a very easy path to the Raiders winning this game. It's Josh Jacobs.
Right.
The Jaguars don't defend the run well at all.
They do all right. It's their better aspect of their defense. It's their 12th in the league, so above the average.
I think when they've played good running backs, they've kind of been chewed up by them, and then they've done really well at stopping teams that can't run the ball. Here's the thing. I don't trust Las Vegas to run. They just ran Josh Jacobs 10 times last week. Yep. I'm supposed to trust them to all of a sudden go, oh, he's good. We should give him the ball more. Like they
kind of figured that out though. That's the weird thing. Earlier in the season, they figured that out, and they started handing the ball, and it's like this offense looks actually kind of good, and then they stopped doing it.
Then they stopped doing it because again, they're run by monkeys.
Yeah. It's it's looking worse than I would have thought. I thought this Vegas team, they obviously, out of those AFC West teams, they didn't do as much, it seemed like, as the other teams, but they still look like a pretty damn good squad that did get better this offseason. Doesn't show in the way they played, obviously.
They got better in every area except for coaching, and that's really hurt them.
Right. Let's keep it moving into a game as my Niners will be on bye week this week. I'll be looking at this one later in the day. Seattle Seahawks going into Arizona to face off against the Cardinals. Seahawks leading the NFC West, sitting at 5-3. Cardinals sitting at the bottom of the division at 3-5. Cardinals getting -2 here at home. kind of speaking to that disrespect that the Seahawks have been seeing. I have a feeling I know where Craig's going, but why don't you lay it out for me? What do you think for this game?
Initially, the trap game alarm sounded in my head.
Right.
Very on the road in
Yeah.
Arizona, an Arizona team that has stunk for most of this year and looks really bad. Initially, that Seattle trap game thing came off in my head. But I don't think with this Seattle team there can be such a thing as a trap game because they're not as talented as a lot of the teams they're playing. I got the Seahawks. The one thing that stands out to me, I'll give you, like, obviously Kenneth Walker's going to run for, like, again, 500 yards because Arizona can't do anything right. There's no way they're going to realize Kenneth Walker's going to run the ball a lot and score a bunch of touchdowns. But the Seahawks have had multiple takeaways 6 straight weeks. What's the one thing the Cardinals offense loves to do? They love, almost as much as the Jets, they love turning the ball over. We're getting close to the Christmas season. They're in the spirit. They just want to share the ball with everyone. I think this matchup's bad for the Cardinals because the way the Cardinals have been winning is when teams ignore the fact that they have a lot of talent despite themselves. The Seahawks team isn't going to do that.
Yeah.
Right? They've been punching above their weight all season. Teams like that don't tend to just fall into trap games like this. I got the Seahawks.
So let me blow your mind here.
Okay. Tell me about how the Cardinals are going to win this game.
No, hell no, I'm not telling you that.
Okay.
It is now going to blow your mind. So no, I brought this up earlier though. I brought up how I feel that this Seattle team is like an 8-win team.
Yeah.
They win this game to go 6-3 on the season. My feeling. This is going to be one of their last 3 wins on the entire rest of the season, I feel. They get this one against Arizona, I feel. Arizona, the lack of discipline, obviously, they have as far as can they trust their play caller? Can they trust their coach? Can this defense not like completely drop the ball in seeming like random weeks? They just completely fall apart. They got this Cardinals team, so I think Seattle gets this one. I'm going to tell you right now, I take a look ahead. They got to Vegas after their bye week. Give them that W. I think they're better than that. I think one that you would expect against Carolina, I don't think so.
Okay. I can see them dropping that one.
And
I'm still looking for the mental gymnastics of them dropping 4 other gimmies.
I like everybody else. I don't like them. I don't necessarily love them at the Rams. So I would say at the Rams. But they win the last one last week.
They win the return leg. So
otherwise, loss.
A team
Tampa Bay
that
too.
has
Tampa Bay, yeah.
that has double-digit takeaways over the last 6 games is not going to do that against the Jets. And you think Tom Brady finds the fountain of youth against them?
so I think that this is going to be a late. This is the second, a very interesting week, right? Not the last week of the season, the week before last week.
Yeah.
If things are still on the trajectory of how the Jets are playing right now, and I really don't feel any reason to change that trajectory of them. That would project them out to a 10-6 team or so, right?
You don't think losing Breece Hall changes that trajectory?
I like James Robinson a lot.
I do love James Robinson. I agree. I just wanted to see if...
Right. But I agree. I really love Breece Hall. If not for Sauce Gardner on the same team, your potential rookie of the year, right?
Oh, he'll be defensive rookie of the year. I think.
I'm just saying, as far overall, Breece Hall, Sauce Gardner, both on the same team. Oddly enough, probably 2 of your best rookies this
And
season.
actually, I don't think either one of them wins overall Rookie of the Year because of what Kenneth Walker is about to do with the Seattle Seahawks.
Well, there you go. And that might be, and obviously I like Kenneth Walker. I liked him enough to pick him up in fantasy and
Yeah,
try to utilize that.
welcome.
But yeah, I just don't. I see. Yeah, they should beat this Cardinals team. I think this week they'll beat Vegas. I think the Bucks kind of right the ship by the time they play them the week after this next one. Going to bye, win against Vegas, and a win late in the season. But I think they have a streak of losses here, right toward the end of the season. Pretty much all December is going to be losses. I feel for the Cards for the Seahawks.
Yeah,
but
I mean that's fair. I think you're wrong, but I get where you're going.
Yeah, so they'll be 6-3, and they'll be looking pretty nice here in the NFC West after this week. I feel so. I'm agreeing with you on this pick.
Yeah.
But I think it's just the top of the roller coaster. You know, we're hitting that apex.
They're hitting the down,
crashing back to earth. I feel.
I get where you're coming from. There's a large part of me that wants to agree with you, but I believe in the Seahawks team. I do think they're legitimate.
I not sold yet, but
that's fair.
But obviously can easily be proven wrong. We shall see. This is going to be a spicy one, despite how bad the Cardinals have played. I mean, they could kind of shock some things and really shake it up if they steal this win. And granted, stealing this win, they're actually favored, but
yeah,
they do it. I mean, god damn, that NFC West is an absolute mess. It's gonna be 5-4 teams, 500 teams. 4-5 teams. Yeah. Let's go into another game that's going to be an absolute mess and talking about some NFC West squads here. And a couple teams that you would have expected were for sure playoff shoo-ins. And
they both stink.
It's not over yet if either one of these loses it, but it's damn near close if you really add up the games left and how many wins you might need. We got the LA Rams going into Tampa Bay, face off against the Buccaneers. Both teams sitting at 3 wins. Rams 3-4, Bucks 3-5. Bucks getting -3 here at home. Sunday afternoon game here. Who you thinking, Craig?
I got the Rams. I think the Bucks are cooked. I said it at the start of the year, and I even said at the start of the year, like, I don't really want to bet on it, but this Buccaneers team just looks old. And they really look old. The Bucks have the worst red zone efficiency. The Rams, the third best red zone defense. That's the difference right there. The Bucks cannot finish drives, and the Rams don't allow teams to finish drives. Neither team can run the ball particularly well, right? Neither team can really pass the ball particularly well either, but I think the Rams just have a little bit more. Can I explain to you why, outside of the fact that the Rams will get a couple more stops in the red zone than the Bucks? No, I think both these teams suck equally, but I like the Rams, I guess.
Okay, so it's like really weird when you take a look, because I think we both agree. If you've watched the Bucks live, they're a tough watch. That team is
bad.
They're bad. If you take a look at the stats and you just looked at maybe quarterbacks head to head, Matt Stafford 251, 7 touchdowns, 8 picks. Tom Brady 283, 9 tutties on 1 pick. Granted, we're talking about a lot of games, but at least not the crazy turnover numbers. But we both know that's a mirage. That's not real.
It's not.
Some garbage time touchdowns for sure amongst those 9. 283 yards, but it's been anything but that in times when it's actually fucking mattered for this team to move the ball, right?
Yeah.
Here's the thing, and it's what I've been concerned about with this Rams team for quite a while now. They have not been able to do anything as far as protecting or doing anything with this offensive line. They are still trash. They are still just injured as hell. I don't think until that is resolved, I have a hard time really thinking they're going to do anything against any team. And if there's one thing that the Bucs have, they have actually a decently solid interior defensive line. We obviously rant and rave about our Via Vea. Of course, Shaq Barrett being out from
hurts
last week hurts a lot for this squad. I really don't feel like this Rams team could do much given their current situation on their line. So I actually like the Bucs in this one. That's simply it. I think that's the only thing I really cared about when I looked at it. Because both the teams suck.
I think we're both in the same situation of both the teams suck.
And I got to cling on to something to kind of project some analysis to it.
When I was talking about the Tennessee-Georgia game today on the Sports Clichés blog, sportscliches.ca/blog, I mentioned how it's a battle between two really good teams. And when you're trying to parse that apart, you can pull out 100 different stats that'll pull you in each direction. At the end of the day, you're just going to have to kind of ride which one you think is going to win.
Right.
It's the same team when two teams really suck, right? I could pull out 50. I pulled out the red zone stat, right? That one stuck out in my head to me, right? As okay, even if Brady can get that team in the red zone, they can't score.
Yep.
Right. You have a great stat as well about the interior offensive line versus the interior defensive line, how banged up that offensive line is. That's also very true. Both these teams suck. You got to pull on one thread to figure out which team sucks less.
I think
we pick different threads.
I think these ones are tougher, though, because when you're talking about bad teams, there's usually a lot of inconsistency in these factors and that sort of thing. So you just never know what you're even going to get. At least with the good teams, you're able to at least point to a factor that they've usually performed well in. Or if they have one weakness, and then a weakness that can be exploited by the other team.
Yeah.
But in this regard, it's just shit on shit. And you just got to kind of sift through it and figure out, all right, what's the one thing that could rise above?
Yeah, which pile of manure stinks less?
Yeah. And right now, both these basically a Tampa win means both these teams stay below 500, and I don't mind that world. So there
you know what? You convinced me almost on that one because I'm like, fuck, I am betting on a world where the Rams are a 500 football team.
Are you changing to Tampa Bay?
You know what? Yes, because I don't want to live in a world where the Rams are a 500 football team.
All right. Well,
I didn't even think about that until you said it. No, I will gladly be wrong on this one and still know that I bet on the right outcome for the world. There's the Rams can't be 500. We can't allow that to happen.
On the road too. We'll see how they perform. Tampa will be at home. Usually these have been primetime games, but the NFL did the wise thing and moved their ass out. And instead, Sunday Night Football, we get a fucking doozy.
Thank you, NFL. Finally doing something right.
But what a spread. And wait till you hear this one. The Tennessee Titans going into Kansas City to face off against the Chiefs. 2 5-2 teams. Kansas City fucking minus 12.5 at home against the Tennessee Titans. This is the largest spread of the week, and it's 2 5-2 teams.
Oh, I hate it.
A Titans team that has won 5 straight. A Kansas City team that had the bye week, but their last win was against the Niners, and they looked pretty damn good in doing it. At least in the second half there for sure. This one's crazy. Moneyline bets, percentage of bets, 94% for the Kansas City Chiefs. I can't believe that, but that's moneyline. Point spread, other way, 62% for Tennessee if you consider the point spread.
That makes total sense to me.
Right.
Right? Because I think the Chiefs are going to win this game. Do I think they're going to win by 2 touchdowns? Oof, Maron. So like when I was doing this, I wrote down a list of scores that I thought this game could end up with, and all of them sounded right. And all of them were on one side or the other of the spread. I had like 33-24 Chiefs. Sounds about right.
Are you just Rain Manning this? You're spitting out numbers and coming to
I
conclusion.
I had 40-20 Chiefs. Sounds about right. Yeah. Like I was trying to figure out like I was just trying to be like where does the score line sound unrealistic to me? And it was the second I had the Titans winning where I was like, no, that's not going to happen. Or anything where the Titans are within like 2 or 3 points, I was like, I don't love that. Anything else in that spectrum, I'm like, I see it. The Titans defense is good at creating turnovers. The Chiefs are going to give you a couple. Right? The way they play the game, it happens. They're so big play oriented that they're going to make a couple mistakes. You're going to get a couple turnovers out of them. I might end up regretting this because I wrote it down differently, but give me the Titans to cover.
Ooh.
I want it to be known that I do have it written down here, Chiefs minus 12.5.
But you're going Titans.
I'm going Titans. I think they'll do enough with Derrick Henry running the ball. To be able to control the time of possession. Right. And I know the Chiefs don't necessarily need time of possession to put up points. But I think they'll be able to keep the ball long enough to keep this game within like 7-ish points.
Are you ready for this? I'm going to blow your mind again.
You have Titans winning?
I certainly have the Titans a shitload closer than 12.5 points. Outright, it's really hard for me to absolutely dive into that. I almost lean toward it, though. I almost do lean toward it. Here's the reason why. The Kansas City Chiefs have had 2 losses this season. A few weeks ago, I guess, had fantastic game, Buffalo Bills. Just a classic. One of their typical ones, 24-20. Good slugfest between 2 good teams. They have had one other loss this season. And somehow, it was against the Indianapolis Colts. 20-17. What are the Tennessee Titans but the better Indianapolis Colts? If you really think about it. Strong defensive team, should have a willingness or a real strength in running the ball. And that's what their success is going to be kind of predicated on. I got Tennessee as well. I think this is for 2 5-2 teams. This is very, very surprising. I know.
Yeah.
The Chiefs are explosive and all that. It's fucking when they're on, that sort of thing. Tennessee is not a team that's really let teams like really get on like that as far as their offensive performances. A team that has won 5 straight, holding teams to 10, 10, 17, 17, and 22 points. None of those are the Chiefs by any means. But I can't imagine it's that big of a fucking blowout, even if the Chiefs win. You're talking about a 10-point game and you're still covering that spread. I gotta take the Titans on this one.
So I will say the other thing that scared me about this game, that why I wrote down that Chiefs thing. Running backs versus the Chiefs this season. I'll give you the full list. I have them all written down. 62, 65. These are yards.
Right.
62, 65, 43, 73, 22, 58. There's one outlier 107 game against the Bucks where Leonard Fournette went off. Running backs have not ran the ball well against the Chiefs.
None of those running backs are Derrick Henry. Right?
That's true.
It's the only thing they got going.
That's true.
And in a team that has really shown dedication just running the ball at you.
It does scare me a little bit that this Chiefs defense has been really stout against the run.
Right. Oh, yeah,
and,
absolutely.
And God, if you can stop Derrick Henry, the Titans have fucking nothing. But God, it's hard to stop Derrick Henry.
It's tough.
I'll stick with the Titans. I feel like that was my gut telling me that is the way to go. But if the Chiefs win this thing by like 3 touchdowns, it wouldn't shock me. Because they're the Chiefs. They can just do that to anybody.
Yeah, right. The potential's there. Absolutely. Let's move on to the last one of the night. The weekend. And this one on Monday night.
Yeah.
We got the Baltimore Ravens, 5-3, going in to face off against the New Orleans Saints, sitting at 3-5. Plus 2.5 at home for New Orleans on this one. New Orleans, as we brought up earlier, coming off that shutout against the Raiders. Ravens coming off an oddly close one against Tampa on that one. Definitely an offense that looked a little scattered there on the Ravens side, as we talked about before. I believe they have a bye last week, did the Ravens? No, not them.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one, for me, it was a nice win. It looks really nice to put up a shutout like that. You played the goddamn Raiders, though. You just lost a bad game against Arizona. I have no reason, even though their offense hasn't really put it together all the time, no reason not to really think Ravens have this pretty soundly.
I nearly made the Saints an outright pick.
Wow.
Yeah. Rashad Bateman's done for the year.
That's
Mark Andrews likely out. He hasn't practiced at all this week.
Yeah.
There is nobody to throw the ball to on this team. And that concerns me. However, if there's one quarterback in the world that hates primetime games more than Kirk Cousins, it's Andy Dalton. Here's the record for Andy Dalton in primetime games. You ready for this one?
Let's hear it.
Andy Dalton in primetime games, his entire career, is 6-20. That is the worst record that can be found of a player playing in primetime.
Jesus.
One of those wins was September 13th, 2018, his last primetime game, where he threw 4 touchdowns against the Baltimore Ravens. That pisses me off, but this is a completely different Ravens team. Lamar Jackson wasn't a thing back then. He was on the Bengals. I'm gonna go with the Ravens. I think they'll be able to run the ball well. I think they'll find ways to get Lamar moving. J.K. Dobbins is back. Gus Edwards will see the ball a lot. Kenyon Drake should see the ball a lot. Gus Edwards may be back, from what I understand. J.K. Dobbins still probably out.
Oh, okay.
But Gus Edwards, it sounds like he's still on the questionable side of may go. He sat out the last couple practices, but it sounded like he practiced on Wednesday and was moving okay. Might have been more precautionary to send him out the last 2. I just am gonna go with talent on this one. I did it in an earlier game, right? Where it's just you just sometimes got to pick the team with more talent. Despite like thinking, oh, it's not great. The Ravens just have more talent than the Saints at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a crazy good win for New Orleans if they're able to sneak this one by. But yeah, I can't think with what they're putting out there. Granted, Kamara is starting to come alive a little bit. I do like some of their pieces. It's unfortunate. I mean, yeah, you just lost Thomas for the year though. On the other side, yeah, Bateman out for the year. On the other side, Mark Andrews, I was kind of hoping might turn the corner and be able to play in this game. Kind of was a little bit behind. I was feeling pretty confident with him, but yeah, I imagine uh, this offense still will have enough to get it done despite that. So yeah, I'll stick with the Ravens on it myself.
Yeah, it's just the talent thing, right? Like at the end of the day, even without those two guys who are massive losses, by the way, and with the fact that Lamar Jackson has not thrown the ball well this year at all, right? He's looked really off at times throwing the ball. The Ravens are still the better team. And I just got to go with that on this one.
Yeah. Yep. All right, so there we go. That would be the final pick of the week. We have bye weeks for Cleveland, Dallas, Denver, New York, Giants, Pittsburgh, and San Francisco. So a little bit, couple less games than we've had in some of these previous weeks here. And oddly enough, only have differed on one game have me and Craig this week. That's the Buffalo Bills against the New York Jets. I have the Jets. Craig has Buffalo. That's an 11.5 point spread. So that should be an interesting one to take a look at, see where it ends up as far as the betting line is concerned. But yeah, otherwise we are matching up across the board. So hopefully we both do well. We'll see. That's the week goes on. We just know that we'll differ by one game, so we won't have the exact same record, but hopefully we're both in the positive here. Side bet as well, let it be known, I got Stephon Diggs for less than 50 yards this week. We're putting some gifted subs on the line for that, so fun little side bet. Try to do those more as the week goes on here. I think Craig opened it up with that Taysom Hill bet, so it's good stuff. But yeah, that is the week that will be coming up. Looking forward to watch some games this weekend. Anything in the world of sports, I know we got some spiciness as far as we got a World Series that is that's coming down to it. We got some NBA action that's already getting interesting. My Warriors are struggling their ass off, and they just lost another game, I think, against the Pelicans tonight. The classic that has been the falling apart of the Nets and the Lakers and all that shit.
Raptors drop a 1 point loss to the Mavericks.
Hockey getting the swing of things.
Want to learn more about hockey? I'll have a blog on that on Sunday at sportscliches.ca/blog. Every other Sunday.
Anderson Silva just completely folded and took the paycheck against Jake Paul and for another boxing match.
Okay. The fact that Jake Paul couldn't fucking finish 48-year-old Anderson Silva tells you all you need to know about Jake Paul as a boxer.
Yes.
And I'm glad you brought that up, Tom.
All right.
Because I did have something I want to talk about.
He does.
We always talk about these fucked up Triller cards that are full of just nonsense fights. Yeah, of course Uriah Hall beat the fuck out of Le'Veon Bell. He's a trained fighter, and Le'Veon Bell's a football player. We have this weekend legitimately potential boxing card of the year. And I think you and me can both attest to being true fight fans. We love ourselves a good fight card. We've talked about it before. There is a card this weekend that is not full of football players and YouTube personalities. That's full of legitimately talented boxers. And I think we should show it some love. We got Dimitri Bivol versus Surdo Ramirez for the light heavyweight title. One of the best fights you can put Bivol in right now. Gilberto Ramirez is going to be a tough test for him. I still like Bivol to win it. But Ramirez, bigger man, a lot of physical advantages, should be a fun fight there. Chantel Cameron versus Jessica McCaskill for the undisputed super lightweight title in the women's division could be one of the best women's boxing fights you'll see all year. And that is in a year that had that Katie Taylor fight that was fucking awesome. Um, Rachmaninoff and Barrett also on that card is an unbelievable fight. Like, that could easily co-main event any card you want for the fake and super featherweight title. Could go either way. And then you got Galal Yafai, who, if you don't know about him at flyweight, is one of the best prospects in the flyweight division there is right now. Yeah, he's gonna run over Gohan Garcia, but like that's what happens in boxing with prospects. Watch him, you'll enjoy him. He's great. This card, unironically, top to bottom, is maybe the best card of the year in boxing, and nobody's talking about it because Anderson Silva fought fucking Jake Paul.
Yeah. You know what's
Let's watch good cards, people.
Yeah. You know, it's and you know we won't do the full deep dive into this discussion because that it go on for a bit, and we have discussed some of this stuff before as far as boxing's problems. Some of them are very obvious. The division of titles and all these different organizations and that sort of thing that it just waters down the meaningfulness of it. You got multiple different champions at the same weight class. Sometimes they don't, fight to unify titles and that sort of thing. You just get, you get that end. But I think for me, and it's kind of funny. I guess it kind of speaks to my my background in marketing and that sort of thing. It's amazing the lack of a promotion that these fights get nowadays, because you do have awesome cards between, you got a fighter who is in Ramirez here that is what 44-0.
Yeah, against 20-0 Dimitri Bivol.
You got an undefeated guy who's fought over 40 fights. These are numbers that they're not reached to every goddamn day, and who knows as far as like really comparing the ins and outs of who they fought, that sort of thing. But it's like I felt like back in the day, at least, like I'm watching a football game and at least I'll get something on a little pop up on the ticker like, hey, this next Saturday we got heavyweight boxing match and like some marquee names, that sort of thing. Just the lack of promotion, people aren't even aware that these fights are going down between some of these guys that have years long records, undefeated, that sort of thing. It's just kind of a shame. And even I would say to the extent of boxing's had this problem for a long time now. It somehow hasn't gotten better. It's amazing in the era that we're in as far as the accessibility that we should have to seeing fights and all that. Just the lack of promotion and knowledge that there is about these fighters. Because I think there would be a decent amount of interest. I mean, I think these trailer cards, if they do anything, they get eyes on the cards because they have these ridiculous names and it's promoted out there. People know this fight's going down, and they don't know that an actual legitimate light heavyweight is fighting, another, and it's going to be exactly. It's like you just that's not. Just people literally don't know about it, let alone get excited about it. The lack of knowledge that is given, the awareness is just not there. So it's been a shame for these guys for a while.
Like Bivol, 20-0, 11 KOs. Ramirez, 44-0, 33 KOs. It is worth noting with Ramirez, hasn't had the greatest level of opposition, hasn't fought anybody like mind-blowingly tough. Whereas Bivol obviously coming off of beating Canelo Alvarez. So that's an interesting thing in this fight as well. But yeah, if you're gonna do these trailer cards, you're gonna do these like crazy, Jake Paul's gonna fight a senior citizen. And,
right.
A career wrestler who is gonna try boxing for some reason. And another YouTube star. Okay. How you use that to your advantage is you put guys like Dmitry Bivol on the co-main event of that, and people watching go, "Oh shit, he's fucking good." So that the next time Dmitry Bivol fights, right now when Dmitry Bivol's fighting Zurdo Ramirez, you go, "Oh man, I saw that guy on that ridiculous Triller card. He was unbelievable. I want to watch that." And then you Dixie chain that, right? Chantel Cameron and Jessica McCaskill. I know there's a lot of people who don't like women's boxing. I don't get it. It's a weird thing, but whatever. Uh, Honestly, one of the most even championship fights you're gonna see all year, right? Like these are two women who are legitimately at the top of the super lightweight division and deserve to have the eyes on them. Let's push good boxing cards, damn it. This is one of them. It's going to be happening at 1:30 Eastern time. If you have DAZN, you have the card. Watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And it's always great. The boxing lines up perfectly. It's on like the Saturday night. Not much is usually going on besides maybe like one or two college football games. Perfect time. Watch a fight. Yeah, I didn't have anything else too much I wanted to hit on. We talked about some of the basketball stuff. It's still early on in the season, so
Yeah.
not diving too much into that. And yeah, World Series, exciting as hell. Awesome. Been awesome to watch that.
It's been a great World Series, man. Like, I just need to throw that out there. It's been a very fun World Series. The Phillies keeping this thing shockingly competitive given how just mediocre they were throughout most of the regular season. Um, been able to really fight back hard against the Astros, who are a very good team. Obviously, Astros throwing that no-hitter in game 4, I think, might have turned this series for good. But hey, if anybody can do it, this Phillies team can. They've shown resilience all season. Going right down to the wire. It's been fun.
Definitely. Yeah, and yeah, I don't. I can't really speak to like having too much knowledge about either one of the teams in the World Series, but I gotta say it would be a pretty awesome little story if the Phillies were able to pull it off. So, and obviously the underdog as far as seeding and everything is concerned. So, yeah, kind of ruined for them, but yeah, we'll see it as the games dwindle down here. It has to be 2 more wins for one of these squads. So
One more win for the Astros.
One more for the Astros. So yeah,
Yeah.
come back for 2. Well, there you go. Yeah, I think that covers it for me.
I just wanted to talk about that boxing card because I was one of the stupid people who watched the Anderson Silva Jake Paul fight.
I had it up and I just glanced over and it was it was a shit show. It was something to have on side, but that's about it.
I so I watched the card for like the sick. How is Le'Veon Bell gonna look against Uriah Hall? Turns out the answer is exactly like we said. He looked like a football player versus a professional fighter.
Right.
That's what happens, I guess.
That's exactly what happens.
Fool me once, Thriller.
I'll do it again and again. And
Uh,
we'll still watch that stupid shit, I guess.
you can't keep getting away with it, man. Yeah, I just wanted to spread some light on an actual good fight card that I'm really looking forward to.
Sounds good. All right. Well, I think that'll do it for this episode of Sports Clichés. Appreciate you all stopping by. If you have watched us live, we usually try to get live around 6 p.m. Pacific time on Fridays. That's at twitch.tv/tapatioj. That's TAPATIOJ. Or you can take a look at us on our VODs that we post up on our YouTube channel. Let's look up Sports Clichés on that. I think we'd actually get that URL right too, so we might be able to just do the /Sports Clichés soon enough here.
Yeah.
Or be sure to check out, if you're having interested in the hockey or the college football, check our boy Craig's blog out mentioned earlier. That's sportscliches.ca/blog.
That is correct.
And yeah, we will catch you all next uh next Friday for
Next
some
Friday.
more taking a look at the week that was, taking a look at the week that will be, weekend that will be of football and some other sports stuff. So catch you all then. Have a great night. Peace.
Deuces.